Ashoka Precious Cargo is a D&D Homebrew Campaign with violent themes and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Aloha Kako friends. Welcome to Mayday Roleplay. My name is Eli and I will be your dungeon master for today. We want to thank you for joining us for our first playcast of the year, set in my homebrew world of Ashoka. We also want to let you know that we are on Twitch now, creating awesome content such as Mondays with Aaron at the Sheep Farm. On Tuesdays, Sergio leads us through the Ironlands in Ironsworn Eye of the Storm. And on alternate Wednesdays, Leg teaches us some history and some heroes you should know. We got a couple of one-shots available, as well as a 3-part debrief of our first campaign, Delta Green Doomed to Repeat, which are now available on VOD and wherever you get your podcasts. If you love and want to support us here at Mayday, please be sure to subscribe to us on Patreon. There you'll get access to our Discord channel, as well as perks like artwork from Zakiya and music from Aaron. The rest of the cast will be introduced throughout this narrative. And if there's nothing else to discuss, why not we get started? This is Mayday Plays Precious Cargo. Welcome to Ashoka. The year is 937 AF. The events that broke this continent apart remains a mystery that is only known to and referred as Old Ashoka. But from these broken pieces, 2 strong empires thrive. To the south and east, the pillars of Old Ashoka Odanao. The beastmen have always been here before the cracking during the time of elves. They are the hearth of wild magic and the Feywilds that have regrown. Under the protection of the king and the 3 Isle lords, Odanao remains. To the north and west, the young warmongers of Ashoka, Sasan, battle-hardened men, conquerors of the Lukeman Empire. For 300 years, Sasan has sought to unify this scattered archipelago under the Torch Queen's rule, and for 300 years, they have failed. This stalemate brokered the Treaty of Tides in hopes to flourish an era of stability, and 100 years now, peace has been the order of things. But when the fires of conquest burns in one's soul, what room is left for peace? But our story, like many stories in Ashoka, begins on a boat. In the northern parts of the border isles, the air is still. A fog clings to an unmoving sea. An Odanaoan wayfaring canoe juts through the calm, double hull with a platform that straddles between. A single crab claw sail full of wind looms over a small hut and a large steering oar and pulley to adjust the sails to catch current at its rear. On the helm, a weary traveler nears his destination. Caleb, can you introduce your character and describe him?
Yes, I can. My name is Anchor. I'm a weary traveler, like you said. I'm dressed in scarves, sashes, belts, and billowing materials all over. I have a sort of nomadic dress about me, like someone who's come from jungles and deserts all over through different travels. I'm about 6'4", well-conditioned, a strong, brawny warrior with a club at my back. I have dark brown skin and noble features. I'm a man who's come a long way to be here, and I'm sailing my ship. I'm getting back behind that oar and making way for my destination.
Roll me a perception check.
So that's a big fat 12.
You lock the steering oar in its place as you kind of step out onto the platform to kind of take a look around your surroundings, kind of peering into this fog. Eventually you finally see the marker head for your destination. It's actually a large boulder that's kind of bobbing in the middle of this ocean. It's got carvings marked into it that kind of look like a lotus blossom or a flower of some kind, but you know that that's the marker head noted on your map for the arrival of Tengu Atoll. You know Tengu Atoll is an island that is recessed in the cove of a dying volcano. Its wide, craggy ring of steep mountain wraps around, creating a narrow passage in and out, aiding both in defense against enemies and unsavory storms that come from further north up from the maelstrom known as Dalma. You know that entering into this area requires a little less speed than you have, so you look up to your masthead and you notice that even though that there's no wind around you, that your sails are full of air and wind like it is a breezy day. You approach the masthead and you notice that on the masthead itself there is a ring of like druidic ruins that are illuminated that go all the way to the top of the sail. And when you kind of bring your attention back down, you see in the middle of the masthead a slot, and in that slot a talisman stone. You know this as being a sailor and traveling on Odonow vessels. This is what's called a gust stone. Travel throughout this archipelago requires a level of speed that simple sailing traditionally doesn't quite cut it. So the druids of Odonow created these gust stones as a way to quicken travel and is used on various types of ships. What do you do?
I think I'm going to reduce my speed like we were talking, maybe manipulate the gust stone if that's a possibility to bring myself into a landing in this sort of a cove of Tengu Atoll. I had a question about the gust stones. Is this a sort of thing that you have to regenerate?
You go to the slot and you pull the stone, and as soon as you pull the stone, instantly the illumination of ruins kind of like pulled back into its place, and the sail just kind of starts to deflate as there's no longer air in it, and you start to slow down. As you pull the stone, you see that there are like cracks forming around it. You know that these stones have to be often replaced as they only have so many charge, and over time of using those charges, the stone will eventually crack and fall apart. Looking at the stone, you probably have maybe 2 to 3 days left as you've been using this throughout most of your journey from your original destination. But it's easy enough to traverse through this narrow passageway as you kind of become engulfed in darkness. And eventually on the other side, you see Tengu Atoll. It's a very small island, but it's kind of stacked up amongst itself. And you see now that that you've passed through this tunnel, the sky is no longer foggy as it's opened up to a level of dusk as it's about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. As you see like stretches of blue and purple and pink and orange as the sun is setting in the west. It takes you a while. Because as you continue through the bay, you notice that there's a lot of boats that are kind of docked out in the middle of the bay, as well as around the main docking area. And as you're continuing to kind of pass through all of these ships, you see like firecrackers popping off into the sky as they're bursting and illuminating, casting down. And you hear like drums and festival music and loud crowds and commotion. And you know that it's about midsummer, and during this time, especially in Odonow, it's the celebration of the Fang Festival. The Fang Festival is a time of year to pay homage to the Feywilds and to the natural world and to the deities of Ashoka, and people often dress up in masks and clothing to kind of celebrate these beings that live and thrive amongst these people. Tengu Atoll is home to one of the last remaining colonies of the Lukeman people, and they are been pushed out of their crown lands over the years of being under the rule of Sasan, and they've been essentially left to their own devices on these craggy, sinking islands. But they've requested help and assistance of some kind, and that's what you're here for. Eventually, you find a place to dock. It's more towards the back end where more of the fishermen ships are. And as you're tying up your boat, you see a harbor master who's kind of approaching you with a ledger in hand. He's a Lukeman. He's about 7 feet tall. He's portly. He's wearing fancy festival type robes, but you can obviously tell that he doesn't wear this often as he's kind of like tight around the middle section. He's kind of got flushed cheek. He's got a flat nose, flushed cheeks, and just a whole bunch of just curly, dark brown hair. But he eventually approaches you, and he throws out his arms and he says, "Welcome to Tengu Atoll, and happy Fang Festival."
Before he approaches, I bring up my head wrap to cover my face and everything, just because I don't want to give any reputation before I actually speak. And then once he welcomes me, I turn to him and I say, thank you. It's so good to be here. Happy Fang Festival.
He nods at you and he says, it'll be 3 silver to dock your boat here. here per night. Do you tend to stay long, or are you passing through? Are you here for the festival?
Yes, the festival. I also have come to speak with your dignitaries, the man in charge, but that will come along with the celebrations. But yes, I can give you the silver. I have some in my pouch over here. I had a question for you. Do you sell gust stones here on the Atoll?
He nods, is like, yes, we should have some in the markets. It's easy enough to find. You said you were here to meet someone?
Yes, I have this note I've been given. I'm to meet with the leadership of this island.
He, like, kind of gestures to, like, holds his hand out to see the letter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imposing enough that I don't think he's going to do anything about it, so I'll hand it over.
He kind of reads over the letter, and he kind of looks you over as he goes back between the letter and you.
I don't think that Anchor has a sort of intimidating presence. He's big, but he's sort of slouched over, not great in the posture, and sort of bending in on his club, just sort of waiting for the guy to, like, come on, dude, it's the DMV, please get me through this.
He eventually hands the letter back to you, and as he kind of turns his head back, and he calls out in Akesian to somebody, and eventually one of the Lukeman guards shows up. He's a lanky, much younger guy, very, very thin, wearing just simple leather armor, and the both of them are exchanging something in Akesian to each other, and then the harbor master finally looks back to you. This is Ro. He will lead you to where you need to go to meet whoever you're intending to meet. And he'll be happy to lead you through the markets, and you can acquire anything you need along the way.
Perfect. I thank you for your hospitality. I welcome that. I'm wondering, what is this festival all about? It will be my first celebration, honestly.
You must be from Sasan, then.
I'm a traveler. I'm nomadic. I'm all over. But I rarely stop long enough to celebrate, so this will be my first.
Well, the Fang Festival is just a great time of year, around the longest days of the summer. It's just a time to celebrate the earth beneath us, the gods that look over us and watch over us, and the Feywild and the magic that just lives and breathes alongside us here. So it's just an opportunity to give thanks, to have fun before the harvest and into the colder parts of the year.
Well, thank you for the information. Is there any customs I should be aware of? I was a part of a holiday once where pinching was involved, and I had no idea, and I was taken by surprise.
He looks very confused at you. As long as you're not causing any trouble, you should be fine. There are many things and many delightful things that you can partake here at the Fang Festival.
I don't think I've caused trouble in my entire life.
That's good.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Well, Ro will take you on your way. I must attend to other matters, and you have a very good evening.
The same with you.
He walks off, and eventually Ro kind of just gives you just a nod as you guys continue on through this dock area. It's a pretty wide dock that stretches around the rim of this atoll. There's just tapestries of tents and stuff here of bustling of some levels of markets. Down here by the dockside, there's a lot of different things going on. There are tattoo makers in tents who are stretching out skin and tapping with ink and what looks like fish bone to the leg of a person who's hiding his face as he's laying on his belly. There are various gambling games going about, cards being thrown down, dice being rolled. Anchor, you pass one of these particular stalls, and what you hear is the skittering and the scattering of scaly feet. As you kind of peek through, and you notice just a tail just flacking up as you see a group of 5 people. 4 of them look the same, like they belong in a group or a tribe together. They have the same similar leathers and hide that some of the travelers in the northern parts of Ashoka tend to wear. But across from them, you see a woman with very interesting eyewear as you're passing through. Zakiya, can you introduce your character and describe them really quick?
Yeah, so Kenny is short. She has brown skin, but it's a little bit less saturated. She's wearing this large almost like sort of a coat, but it's a little bit softer and it hangs off of her shoulders. And she has a sort of like black strappy top underneath. She also has this gold mask that almost looks like wires reaching around her face and like curling up on her forehead and forming this sort of ornate pattern, but you can't see her eyes at all. She also, if she's participating in this game, she is smiling, and you can see she has a wonderful, probably half-inch gap in between her front teeth. Oh, sorry, Jesus. She has 2 bantu knots and long braids going down, but the top is completely shaven off.
Kenny, you have a yellow lizard. It's got a wide, flappy collar that's kind of wrapped around its neck. As it's running through this course, it's kind of running on both feet as it's kind of just folding its legs over, back, on top of each other. It's racing against 4 other lizards. One's a paunchy, stouty-looking black lizard. One's a thin, horned blue lizard. One's a tiny, dragon-looking lizard. And another slender, almost newt-like looking purple lizard. And they're all racing down the track. Yours is currently in the lead. Can you roll me a d4?
A 4.
A 4, nice. Your lizard hits a bend and it just slides effortlessly as the other 4 kind of crash into each other as yours kind of slowly starts taking the lead, with the purple slender lizard slowly behind as it kind of jumps over the rest of the pack and just continues right behind it. Roll me one more d4.
We've got drift in this game.
It drifted.
Another 4.
Tokyo drift.
Oh fuck, that's excellent.
Wow.
The last bit of this track is just a series of just like up and down bumps. Your lizard just, with its long legs, just kind of jumps over each mound as the purple lizard is kind of just right behind, but yours manages to skid right across the finish line as everybody around you starts to cheer and loud as the 4 other ones are just kind of slamming their tickets down on the ground, very upset.
We're gonna get turned into shish kebabs later.
In the pot, you got about 75 pieces of gold from this. On top of that,
Whoa.
one of the other men in the group who was betting against you also put down a strange deck of cards in the pot as well. You pick up this leather card deck, and you see the like laced around the edges symbols and runes that the conjuration symbol. Mm-hmm. As you're like looking over this deck of cards, you are approached by the 4 men who were with you. The one who seems to kind of held himself up as a leader is a human man. He's got a thick gray beard and dark green eyes. His skin is sun-worn, like that he's been out at sea for many, many years. And he's got a very unhappy look on his face. And he asks you, now, a win's a win and it's all fair when all's said is done, but I was really hoping that I was going to win that pot, and I don't really want to give up that deck of cards. It's kind of a family heirloom. It's kind of important to me. Would you mind maybe we exchange it, or
That's weird.
I'll give you gold for it. I'll pay for it.
Put it in the pot like you were willing to gamble it. Did anyone force you? I didn't see anyone do that. It was voluntary.
Oh, no one forced me, but I thought it was a sure win.
Well, I voluntarily won, so it's voluntarily mine, I think.
Ooh.
Did I get it wrong? Did I get the rules wrong? Are there new rules? And she asks everyone.
He realizes that a scene is being made, and he says, now, just one more time, if we could exchange it I could give you more money for it, just would mean the world to me.
I see where you're coming from. The thing is, we did already agree on the game before we started playing. Now, if you could buy them back from me in a separate transaction, but for now it's mine. Now, irrelevant. How much did you pay for this? You said it was a family heirloom, so probably a lot. Just interest and over time, the way value works. So, What? 45 gold pieces?
45 gold pieces?
Yes.
He like looks amongst the others, and they kind of look at him as if they've just spent all their gold betting on this race. perhaps we'll see you a little bit later throughout the festival. Maybe your mood might change and maybe luck will be a little bit more on my side.
I've already earned so much money here today. Who knows how much money you'll earn throughout the rest of it?
Right, as he starts to slowly kind of back off, kind of still eyeing you, like trying to remember the face as he eventually dips off into the market. Roll me a perception check, Kenny.
14.
After that just little bit of a scene, you kind of straighten yourself up and pocket your gold and this deck of cards. And then you just start to kind of continue to wander out through this dock area of Tengu. In the artisan part of this city, there are various merchants and artists that are making things. There are painters painting stuff. There are porcelain makers who are building figurines. Tucked away in a corner, more for like a kid's paint art and easel setup. There's two younger kids who are kind of taking these pods that look like little squids and like squeezing them out onto the little canvas and then kind of painting it around. On the opposite side of it is a tall turtle who's just squeezing paint onto a canvas and running his hand on the canvas. Sergio, can you introduce your character and describe him?
For sure. I'm Sergio, and I'm playing Rad. Rad is a turtle, but he looks more like a sea turtle, to be exact. His coloration and kind of just size and demeanor. He's about 6'2", though. He's very tall for a turtle, and if someone were to weigh him, he probably is over 200 pounds, closer to 300 pounds. But it's mostly muscle and the big shell on his back. But Rad's got a big smile on his face. He's loving it. He's got all his fingers covered in paint, and like these kids is just trying to make the most colorful canvas he can. He has a bandolier, like a leather bandolier across his chest. It seems to be full of pockets that are full of things. Spiked into the sand behind him is an 8-foot-tall longboard, a surfboard that he's obviously put there while he's in the middle of painting. And he has like a puka shell necklace and some bracelets and anklets that have different eccentric shells on them that you might not necessarily see on the shoreline. But yeah, he's got a very chill demeanor, and as he's doing it, he's looking at some of the other paintings and be like, "Jaw, looks good, dude," and he's just kind of going all over the canvas.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a gift.
Rad, roll me a perception check.
Rad, man.
That's a 2.
Ooh, damn.
I'm just really into these finger paints.
Yeah. You're so into the finger paints that you don't notice a Lukeman guard as well as a human-looking man in wraps passing through the marketplace as Anchor is continuing his way. Eventually, as you're just focused on your painting, whatever it is that you're drawing on your canvas.
I'll say that I finish it, like, not even really thinking. And when I pull my hands back, it's like, it's a wave, like a giant tsunami wave, but there's this kind of malicious looking face in the center of it, and even I kind of appear surprised by it. Cool, I did.
As you're caught up in that, for a second you get a feeling that you're being watched by something. When you kind of like look around, you notice that there's a small tabaxi boy just looking up at you. He looks like a little panther, got big blue eyes, and he's just kind of staring up at you, kind of sheepishly, like taking in your height and your size. And then he finally asks you, "Are you a pirate?"
One thing I failed to explain is that Rad actually has an eye patch, like a black leather eye patch that kind of wraps around his head, and I guess he kind of looks around and says, "Wouldn't you like to know, little dude?"
My God.
Well,
and then, I guess I would look around to see if anyone is directly looking at me besides the tabaxi.
if you're looking around, you notice that there is a smaller other Odinawan kid with him who's kind of peeking over the easel shyly. It looks like a boar kid. He's got like little tiny tusks that are like lipping over his mouth, kind of like looking, but he sees that you've like kind of met eyes for a second. He kind of just like tucks it away.
If they're the only ones really looking, I'm just gonna have a good time with them, and I'm gonna take my eye patch and just flash real quick what's underneath it, and then immediately drop it and just see what the reaction is.
Roll me an intimidation check.
Okay. That's much better.
What is better?
That's a 17.
It's a 17. Okay. As you flash your eye, the Tabaxi's kid's face just kind of grimaces in unexpected, like, surprise, as he did not expect to see what he saw in there, as he kind of, like, his ears kind of fold back, as he kind of just, like, slowly backs away.
As he's backing away, I realize I'm getting the reaction I didn't want. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't make you cry, dude. I didn't mean to make you cry.
And he's reaching over for his friend, and they're both, like, start to, like, turn around and scamper off into the market, very scared.
Yeah, before anybody notices, I'll probably get up and take my painting and walk away.
You take your painting, you grab your board, and you kind of try to shift off into the deeper into the art market. And as you're doing that, like, once you've kind of settled back into a steady pace, you start to feel this itching sensation underneath your eye, and it starts like on the lower eyelid, and eventually it kind of starts to sting, and it starts to then like slowly burn. You know that feeling, and it almost makes you want to like take that eye patch out because he wants to see what you're seeing. What do you do?
I'm worried that if I let him see what I see, people aren't going to be happy. So I think what I'll do is I'll try to find like a torn bit of canvas or like some useless piece of fabric, and I'm gonna like wrap that side of my head up a little bit so that it can't really be seen, but I'm gonna try to leave a little bit of a hole, and then I will open up the eye patch so that I can see using that eye, but no one can really see that eye. It's going to be a little hidden.
That's easy enough to do. You find some cloth that you have on your persons, you kind of wrap up your face, and you leave just enough space for you to kind of, just a tiny slit that you can just barely look out of. It's a little uncomfortable.
I probably look like a leper or something.
Yeah,
but...
a little bit. Roll me one more perception check.
Okay. Oh, this dice needs to go to bed, I think, already. Early bedtime. That's a 6.
Okay. As you finally finish up that wrapping, you smell the faint smell of pie.
Oh.
Your favorite kind of
He's
pie.
going right for the pie, for sure.
As you start to walk off.
Squid pie?
Squid pie, sure. Yeah, you start walking off into towards that direction of that smell. Eventually, there is a large food market area that's where the hub of like all of this food is being made. There's different types of cuisines being cut. There's fish, there's meats, there's vegetables, there's flames of going up in different various booths as things are being passed around and ordered out. A band of bards are walking through this food eatery area and are playing just a loud song as they're proceeding through. As they turn a bend, they cross the paths of a golden colored dragonborn who kind of winces at the sounds of their horns as they start blaring around the corner. Amanda, can you introduce your character and what they look like?
My name's Amanda, and I'm playing Snuvall. 7 foot 5 inch dragonborn. She has, think of it like golden, kind of almost like reflective metallic skin. Pure black monk robes. Very simple form fitting on the, so it's not really billowy. It's pretty. It is on her person pretty well, but she will have white belt, white cuff over her forearms, and any kind of accents that are like on the stitching and all that, that is also white. She has actually a copper braid, very long copper braid, very oriented, all the way that actually goes down past her waist. And in the braids, you will find little white markings, little jewelry, but you will see almost like a very heavy brass ring at the end of it. So it is definitely shows a status, if you will. Also kind of a weapon. Like she is, I would say her eyes are very clouded over with white and black kind of swirls going around. So, and that is Snuvall.
Roll me a perception check.
21.
You kind of hurry past this parade of loud of music. You kind of wince, and it hurts. It almost seems like it hurts your eyes but you walk past them. You first notice, as you continue to walk down, that this part of the market area, it runs a long canal. This canal is fairly wide, about almost like 15 to 20 feet across, and there's various boats that are kind of parked up against the side, as there's a small lane of people that are oaring through this area. Seems like how they deliver foods or other things up and down this stretch of area. And eventually, as you're looking around, you see a pie eating contest beginning to start, as you see various people, including a turtle, the long surfboard that's kind of stuck in the back as a pie is being set down in front of him. But the next thing you hear is just this light drolling bell, and it sounds pleasant, and it's very attractive, and it just is like dinging at you, and it almost seems to kind of call you.
I'm gonna go ahead and follow towards that sound, and while I'm doing it, I'm gonna walk like, I would say it would almost look stiff. This is one of the few times that she would actually start to like glide a little bit, like her shoulders are moving with the bell's rhythm.
So you follow the cadence and the tempo of that bell as you kind of sway gracefully between people. Eventually, on the opposite side of where you were standing is a small cart, and it looks like a man who has various like little ice cream cones and like a box that looks and feels fairly cold. He waves you down and greets you. He's got a very thick mustache and a little tiny hat. He's like a halfling. He's got little puffs of gray hair that kind of spouts off to the sides between his little hat. And he asks, "Would you like an ice cream?"
Apologies. I'm so sorry. What's his ice cream?
You've never heard of ice cream before? As he just like starts to just like pluck a cone from the front of his cart, as he just dives deep into it, and he starts putting this very cold scoop of white ice cream, and then he puts another scoop on top.
I would like to look into him. If you, Eli, if you know what I'm talking about, I want to actually look into him.
To the soul of the ice cream man.
Soul of the ice cream man.
As he's like generously scooping these ice cream scoops onto your thing, you peer into him, and in your mind you start to see a golden scale, and you see that one end of the scale is kind of starting to teeter higher on the left side over the right, as there's about maybe 3 or 4 coins on the opposite side and a whole stack in the other.
Okay.
You kind of zap out of it as he like thrusts this ice cream cone into your face, and he's like, "This is on the house. You have to try ice. It is truly a delight." I need to know. Let me know how you think about it. As he kind of puts his hand over his chin over his hand, anticipating you trying this.
Snuvall's gonna kind of tilt her head almost like a dog, like was curious, and then kind of let a soft grin, but because she has very sharp teeth, it may come off more intimidating than anything. She'll go ahead and grab the scoop, the cone of ice cream, and she's gonna go ahead and take a tentative lick, and then go, and like kind of a growl like that, and then she's just gonna go ahead and like, this is, I apologize. I've never had stuff.
It's okay. It happens. It happens to everyone.
You have to keep making this forever. And I'm gonna go ahead and like pull out. I'm gonna reach into my pocket, and I'm gonna go ahead and give him a gold coin as a gesture of thank you. And I'll go ahead and walk away.
He takes it and he nods. And you're just gonna walk off with your ice cream cone?
I'm like content. This is the most content you'll see. She's going to like ice cream, and then the teeth licking, smearing. It's on the snout, y'all. Like she's like she's almost kind of like doesn't know how to react to it. This is the first time she's trying this, so she's like just like.
And then she licks too much and gets like a
little bit of a break.
Please.
Snuvall, as you're enjoying and downing this ice cream cone, you don't notice the very tall figure that walks past you. As you're kind of still in the mix of the crowd, very awkward standing person is just kind of sneakily trying to wander through the food court. Allegra, can you introduce Xauti and describe them?
So Xauti is a very tall, very gangly, thin Goliath person. They have all their clothes don't really look like they fit. Some of them are too big in the sense that they're too thin to fill them out, but too small in the sense that they are too short to fit their long limbs. So their clothes are a little awkwardly hanging on them. Pretty dark clothes. They've got bright blue eyes, kind of like a taupey, purpley heather skin, and their hair, which is pretty long, and it looks kind of matted and kind of clumped together and dark, little speckles near the roots of lighter color. They, on top of their head, they've got a headband with buttons on either side, and on hanging off of one of the buttons is a little piece of fabric that's got a hole on the other end, so you think that they could probably pick it up and put it across their face as a mask if they wanted to, but they don't have it on right now. And they've got their skin has a few lighter puckered areas that look like burn scars almost.
Roll me a perception check.
All right. Oh, shouty dice. Let's say this one. 20.
You're walking through this food court. You pass by this golden dragonborn who is just licking, covered in cream, just enjoying this 2 scoops of thick ice cream. As you continue through, as you're clinging to the shadows in this food court, a burst of fire comes from this one booth that kind of illuminates you a little bit in the shadow and it kind of fades away. You notice something very familiar, something you don't really want to see. You see two tall men in dark robes that cascade all the way down to the floor. You don't see their hands, you can't see their feet, and it almost gives the appearance that they're gliding. They have a tall black brim hat that kind of also obscures their overall appearance as they kind of walk tandemly together down one of the hallways and kind of turns a corner almost effortlessly and out of sight. You know them to be the Magistari. The Magistari are one of the wizards found in Parlis in Sasan. They are a secret sect of mage users, of those who truly choose to go deeper into the study of magic, of the arcane within Sasan. And they're very dangerous.
I'm going to pull an abrupt about face and try to sneak my way literally any direction they're not going. I'm gonna pull my sleeves down as far as I can and put my little mask over my face and pull my hair over my shoulder in the little clumps that it's in.
Roll me a stealth check.
An 11. You're going to time out too. Yeah.
You kind of push yourself into the shadows. You think you're well hidden, but you are very tall and you're very gangly and you can be a little bit noticeable. So occasionally someone might peek their head over. But earlier in the day, towards the artisan market, there is not a very tall man, but a man in a black hat and a duster, and he's walking through the market. Aaron, can you introduce Trig and what he looks like?
My name is Tucker Triggerfinger Johnson, but most people just call me Trig. I have a currently covered from neck to toe in a long black leather trench coat, and it looks like there's a bunch of objects kind of protruding out from his person underneath. He has a tall cowboy hat on that's pitch black with a slick of dark hair kind of hanging out over the front. Over his eyes, he has this pattern of black paint that runs across in a bar and goes up onto his forehead. He has a little toothpick hanging out from his mouth that he occasionally just takes out and kind of taps a little bit and puts back in. And he has a bunch of deep red scars on his face that look like slash marks from monsters and knives, and looks like a tough, rough and tumble looking guy.
Roll me a perception check.
Perception check. Math. Perception. That is going to be a 15.
As you're looking through the different stalls and shops of this artisan market, something catches your eye. It's a tiny porcelain dragon. It's green in color. It's got a golden underbelly, and it's got little clouds.
I'm walking right up to it. I walk right up to the booth, and I'm looking down at it, and I look up, and is there a shopkeeper?
Yeah, as you are putting your hands out to it, and you look up, there's a dwarven woman with with red braided hair that's tied up in a bun, who's like kind of holding a porcelain like unicorn that she's painting currently, as she notices your entrance into her stall.
I just kind of like snake one hand down into like the trench coat, and I'm looking for my coin pouch, and I pull it out, and while I'm pulling it out, I just say, "How much for the dragon?"
She looks it over and she says, "A gold? Take a gold for it."
Done. Slap it down on the table.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I take the little dragon, and I'm gonna try to find like a little piece of extra like cloth, pull like the bandana out from like around my neck, and I'm just gonna wrap it up in that, and I'm gonna try to tuck it away as safely as I possibly can on my person.
As you're stuffing that dragon into your bag, you hear a woman scream. A woman screaming for help. Down just a little bit further down the way.
And as soon as I deposit my new treasure, I hear the cry for help, and I'm booking in that direction as fast as I can.
As you like round that corner and you're walking through that, you do notice a woman trying to flag somebody down, and she's pointing further down the way, and she's like, "Somebody stole my purse down the street." As you see like this hooded little rogue kind of darting between the crowd.
I'm gonna cast Zephyr Strike, and I'm charging at him full speed.
Okay.
Trigger finger.
Oh, and I can make an attack. I can make an attack at the end of Zephyr Strike, so I'm gonna pop him in the foot as I run.
Roll,
Yeah,
It's already going.
roll an attack.
Hashtag less chaotic.
Natural 20. Unfortunately, I forgot to say sharpshooter, but that's fine.
That's fun.
Roll me that damage.
Alrighty.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna make this a disarming attack to try to knock the bag out of his hand, if that's okay.
Okay.
Less
That's
chaotic.
gonna be 18 points of damage, and he has to make
God
a
damn.
DC 14 strength saving throw or he drops the bag.
As you're standing there, and you see the woman pointing, and you see the darting of this creature, you just book it. And as you book it, you just pick up with tremendous fucking speed that just kind of weaving through like a gust of fucking wind as you knock into this creature, sending it onto his feet, and as it tumbles ahead, the bag drops right in front of you. What you hear is like the croak and the squawk of a little Kenku bandit as it rolls into the ground and it hits up against something and it just goes limp.
I spit on the ground and I say, "That's what you get for being a dirty, rotten, no good fucking thief." And I'll pick up the bag and I'll casually strut up to the woman and I'll kind of like tip my hat and say, "Ma'am," as I hand it back to her.
She's like half in tears because she doesn't quite understand the whole situation, and she takes her bag and she finally says thank you. As you say thank you, you can hear the squawking and the flapping of birds scattered in the distance.
Oh god. Well, hearing the birds squawking, I'm gonna walk away.
You eventually just continue on your way, treasure in your bag, and a good deed done. The rest of you spend a good couple of hours enjoying the festival. Anchor, you do eventually get a gust stone for yourself as you eventually are led into the meeting place in which you've been ordered to meet at. And the rest of you as well.
Did Rad win the pie eating contest?
Yes. You did.
Okay.
The rest of you enjoying the rest of the festival, knowing that eventually towards the later part of the evening, you too also have notes in which a job has been offered to you in some odd way, as you've found this note in your passing. As you guys are also traversing through the festival throughout the evening, you also gather masks as they are kind of casually passed out to people who haven't been, who don't have any, as there are various carts that are tucked away on different corners. Sergio, you got a crystal elemental mask, so it looks like a bunch of like diamond jutting around in like this squarish form. Ooh. Amanda, you have a mask that looks like a knight's helm. Zakiya, you have a spider mask. Aaron, you have a mask that looks like a human king with a crown and little sparkly fake jewels.
Well, I'll be.
Allegra, you got a wolf's mask, and the mask has this very crude looking smile on it, as well as 6 red eyes that are painted on its front. And Caleb, you got a beholder's mask, so it's just a creepy looking smile with a giant eye and these little tiny little pieces that stick up with like these little tiny eyes around it. So as the night progresses and it finally gets to about the time where you need to go and meet, you are eventually all led to, with masks in hand, this ornate center of the city. This seems to be kind of the most ornate part, as everything else seems fairly simple housing, almost shanty-like. And even this it looks very run down. It looks like it's been here for generations. There's holes in some of the tiles and the patchwork. All the stained glass is kind of been faded and just sun bleached over the years. But you're led into this building and then also led to a side room, which is this lower photo you guys see. And it's just this unusual looking office. It's got tapestries hanging all about, a desk and a table with various notes. There's bookshelves with scrolls and various types of tomes and whatnot. And it's just the six of you all been ushered into this room, and you're waiting.
On my way there, can I have stopped at the booth or stopped someone on the street and just leant over and asked them, "Hey, your leaders here, how do they treat you?"
The person looks at you and says, "They treat us very well. We're all a community and we all work and live to help each other out on this small little atoll. Why do you ask?"
"Oh, no reason."
Okay.
And I'll just wink at them and walk away.
I also think that Rad, as he's getting close, has replaced the rags that he put on his head and was using the mask and poked a little hole so that his other eye could see through it. But once he gets to where he knows he's going to be meeting other people, he's just going to kind of be talking to himself and be like, "Lights out, sorry, I can't be most conspicuous." So I'll lift the mask and pop the eye patch down and then enter. But I'll keep the mask on the top of my head.
I'll say Shodi probably left as soon as the Magistari people kind of disappeared. I think Shodi just headed straight for the center of town and just kind of hung out there until it was time.
Okay.
Kenny's got a old box bag sort of strapped around her body. It's wooden but whitewashed and faded, and there's small drawers on the side. She's gonna start rearranging papers and sort of stick out as many on the top easily reachable scrolls as she can and head inside.
I was gonna ask if Snuvall sees everyone in that they're all entering the same room, can she do a check on everybody?
Sure. Yes, you can. As everybody enters into the room and you guys kind of find places to stand about, I would say Rad and Anchor, you guys are kind of towards this window that outlooks and you can see part of the bay and some of the dock areas and the eclectic amount of boats that are kind of scattered amongst. Everybody else is kind of just hugging bookshelves or just standing in the middle.
Rad wouldn't necessarily say hello to Anchor, but he'd probably look at him, give him a chin, throw him a shaka. So
I think Anchor's a little confused by the shaka, but he returns it very awkwardly and says, "Good evening," and shakas to him.
Snuvall, as you kind of hug a corner of the room and you kind of just take in every single person around you, and as you kind of peer into them again, you start to see the scales in each and every person, and you're just gauging them and you're just getting a feel for all of them as you're kind of enthralled with that. But a few moments go by and eventually someone enters in the room along with two Lukeman guards who are accompanying him. He's a very short man, Odinawan in race. He looks like an otter. He's got a very circular kind of head that's kind of covered in fur with little short puffy circular ears on either side of his face. He's got a large nose that's very flat against his face. He's wearing simple robage and a sash that kind of goes over it that's silvery in color, and at his hip is a Sikmintar. Those who are born in Odinau know of the druids that reside in there and their role in shaping building Odinau itself. Druids are seen as liaisons between the kingdom and the natural world, and they're used as advisors and in higher up stations alongside the king, the various various Odonalan lords and any nobleman's house. They also serve as like the hub of research throughout Odenau, as many of the different circles will send emissaries out into all around Ashoka to study various plant lives or ruins or anything that needs to be discovered, as one of their biggest missions is to find out what has happened in old Ashoka and to uncover its mysteries. While no individual sect actually claims they are one to look to, often it is revered that the Circle of the Moon is utilized as the hub of leadership and what people kind of use their guidance to kind of shape their own way of running things in their own circles. And it appears with the moon symbol on his sash belt that he is a member of the Circle of the Moon. He adjusts those small spectacles that he has on his nose, and he gives you all a greeting and a smile, and he says, "Hello there, my name is Nock. I am the emissary here on Tengu Atoll, and I assume you are all here because of the letter I had sent out into the various monasteries and factions in Ashoka. Is that correct?"
Yes, sir.
Anchor takes the tapestry that he wears about his hip like a sash, and he sets it down on the floor, and then he slowly kneels to both knees onto that tapestry on the floor and gives him a bow. He says, "Yes, I've come about the note that you've given, and I assume you've given to all of us. It is a pleasure to meet you. My name is Anchor. I'm at your service."
Everybody, when you hear the name Anchor, roll me a history check.
I got a 19.
17.
Somehow I got an 18.
16.
Oh, wow.
15 for me.
You have all casually heard this name Anchor used as like a first name, but you've only heard it in myth. There have been known people that traverse throughout Ashoka that go by this particular name, doing any sort of task or deed. They are from a hidden faction known as the Order of the Ballast, but as far as all of you know, it's a myth and it doesn't exist.
I think Rad would it'd take a minute once he says his name, and then he just kind of blurt out loud, "Whoa, you real, dude? I've heard of you."
It is good that you know me, or at least my order. I am here to serve in any capacity to the court of Tengu Atoll.
I'll look to everyone in the room and be like, "Is everyone part of a secret club?"
Yes, you best be watching your back.
Snuvall's just
cool.
gonna stay still, not really acknowledge that.
Are you part of a secret club?
No.
Do I believe him?
Roll an insight check.
Well, you gotta make him do deception for that shit, man.
You want me to roll my deception?
I'll call that one.
Not great. 10.
10. Get you roll.
My deception is a 20, dirty 20. A 19.
I mean, with the wide smile and the casual laid backness of his tone of his voice, you believe him. He seems very genuine about it.
Right, gentleman.
Nock approaches you, Anchor, and he kind of ushers you to get up from your knees and kind of says that it's not quite necessary, but I appreciate the decorum. He turns around to you all, takes you all in for a second, trying to see who had been sent to take on this task, this mission. And when he finally feels a little comfortable, he finally begins to relay the task in which he needs of you, and eventually says that the matron of Tengu Atoll, the Great Toad, has passed 2 days ago, right before the Fang festival. She was very old in her age, and it was coming to a particular time when she was going to pass on. She, of course, was the one who proctored this task and had sent this letter out weeks ago and was awaiting the arrival of those as travel takes its time. And it's unfortunate that she will not be able to see this mission. What she wanted and what she had asked of you was to deliver a piece of cargo from here in Tengu Atoll to a place between Asaway and Saren known as Al Jannah. Everybody roll me a history check.
I got a 13.
I have also a 13.
-1.
3.
At a 14.
I got an 18, and that's after rolling a 19.
Trig, did you say you got a -1?
Yeah.
Trig, I don't even think you're quite paying attention, Trig. I think you're thinking about that rascal in the market who was taking that lady's purse.
I'm like fingering my new dragon figure on like my belt, like
just enjoying it. But the rest of you rolled high enough to know that. No. Oh no! Wait, who
I rolled a 3.
Oh, you rolled a 3. Kenny, as far as you know, you're not quite aware of this place called Algernon. The others, especially those who come out of Oda now, know that that word is Elvish in nature. You have heard of Algernon as also a myth in the way that the Order of the Ballast is. It's an island in the middle of the ocean in the South Sea, straddled between the island of Saren and the island of Asaway. But as far as you know, that island also doesn't exist. It's not real. It's never been charted for the amount of travel that is traversed in that area of the world. And as far as you know, elves do not exist here in Ashoka. There has been depictions of elves, and there are half-elves here. Full elves have never been seen in this part of the world for centuries. It's very safe to say that they don't actually exist at all.
Do we know if Algernon is to the north, the south? Where is it in relation to Atoll?
From here in Tengu, you would know that it's about south of here. South, almost southeast, leaning in towards Odenal in the farthest point.
Rad, for some reason, audibly sighs in relief. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but how are we supposed to go to an island that doesn't exist? Isn't that what the mission is, to find the place?
Well, no, the mission is not to find the place, but to deliver it to the place. I have procured the charters that will lead you to this isle. You will have a small window to be able to get there before you will miss being able to find it. At the end of summer, Algernon has been able to be seen and revealed towards that part of the world, and you'll be able to find this actual island. So you need to take this cargo, get it there by the end of summer, and deliver it to this island.
So the island itself shifts
and it hides.
What is this cargo you mentioned?
As you say that, Nock kind of leans over to one of the guards and speaks Ikesian, which Kenny is the only one who would be able to understand. And he says, bring them in. And in a couple of moments, a very tall Lukeman woman who's kind of dressed as a matron with a very tight headscarf and a very simple dress walks in. She's a very wide woman and takes up most of the doorframe as she enters. And she kind of gives a gracious nod to all of you. And then she kind of looks to her side and expecting somebody to be standing next to her, and realizing that they're not there. She kind of looks around. She eventually kind of turns fully over and kind of admonishes and scolds and kind of shuffles out a very small child. This child is a Genasi. She has light blue skin and very bright, big, light blue colored eyes that are kind of looking at you as she's kind of gripping onto the matron's dress and skirt. She's got very wavy hair that seems to be kind of flowing and kind of tussling about. In the center of her forehead is this dark, matted color looking stone. And it seems that from her eyes, around her eyes, she has coloring that kind of looks like a tattoo that kind of crosses down her face and towards the back, and you kind of see in the different parts of around her fingers and the little bit of skin that you can see outside of her robe that she's got these colorations throughout her body. From you can see it on her ankles, you can see it on the tips of her fingers, that she's covered in these markings, and she's holding onto the matron's skirt as well as a tiny little pink teddy bears kind of tucked underneath her arm. Nock looks over and says, this is Matron Sol, and this is Baran. Baran has been a ward of Tengu Atoll for about 2 years. We found her in the wreckage of a ship that had washed upon the mountainsides on the outer ring of Tengu Atoll. She was the only survivor of this wreckage. The Grey Toad decided to take her in as a ward of hers. Over the last 2 years, we've discovered that Baran has a very interesting story that we're still kind of uncovering. Any of you ever done any studying and may know about some of the ruins and artifacts that have been discovered in Ashoka in the last 100 years?
All the time.
Then you've heard of a soul render.
Yeah, you got your soul renders and your meat renders and...
Give me a deception check.
That is gonna be
God, I hope you pass.
That's gonna be a 13.
You don't know anything about a soul render.
No, sir,
Why
I do
don't you
not.
just give us some background, just for those of us that don't?
From the ruins that we have discovered of in the last 100 years, that the soul render appears to be a type of energy source of some kind. And over the years, or during its history, it was cracked and fragmented and scattered across all of Ashoka. It appears that this event had happened prior to the crack, but we can't correlate if it was the source of the incident. We're not quite sure. But Baran possesses various ruins and markings about her that suggest that she might know the answers or the way to finding some of these fragments of soul render. And we fear that if fallen into the wrong hands, it could be devastating to the balance of the world. Which is why now that the toad has passed, there is no protection or safekeeping for her here. And now is a time as good as any to send her somewhere that would be far safer out of prying hands.
Are there people on Al Janan? Will someone take care of her?
Yes. The elves that reside on that isle will keep her safe. I know. It seems a bit of a shock, but the elves still exist in this world. They're just not where they're seen.
We're going to meet elves. We're going to see elves.
Eli, I'm gonna go ahead and definitely look into this guy and the child to see if I believe him, but also what his real intentions are, just in case.
Roll me an insight check.
13.
He seems very genuine. You are aware of the druid circles and the sects and the oaths that they take to preserve the higher order of Odanau and the greater good of it. He seems pretty genuine about it.
Rad, in his mind, was actually going to bring up the subject of payment, but after seeing this little Genasi girl, he just kind of feels overwhelmed with emotion, and he just, if everyone's in a semicircle or something, he kind of steps forward proudly and then gets on one knee, and he's facing Baran, and he just says, "My name is Rada Aha, but most people just call me Rad. And you have my longboard," and I hold out my longboard.
Oh my God. I'm gonna say, as he's doing that, Xauti had been going to sit on the ground and reaching into their pouch and pulling out different seashells of different sizes and just lining them up smallest to biggest. And then seeing Rad do that, they're gonna look at their shells and look at Rad and look at their shells and look at Rad and sort of try and awkwardly make their way into a similar kneel, not really knowing how this works.
Anchor is just immediately moved because he was already kneeling. He's so glad to be in a group that kneels. And of course he takes his war club out and he sets it right next to the surfboard, it's very ceremonial, and he says, "And of course you have the Order of the Ballast. Me, myself, and Rad, we will protect this place, this woman."
Meanwhile, Trig is like, "Well, I guess it's the thing to do." So he reaches into his pocket, pulls out a bundle of dynamite, and drops it at his feet.
Kenny's gonna sit down on the floor and take out a piece of paper and say, "You will have my full protection as soon as you sign this contract." Do you have a last name? Can you write?
Are you asking
Do you have a
Baran?
last name?
Oh my God.
She kind of peeks out and she says something in a language that you do not understand.
All right. Well, then I turn to the matron. Do they have a last name? And can they write?
Actually, you know what? Is she speaking Aquan?
No, she is not.
Oh,
she's
okay.
not. But you do speak Primordial, though, right?
No, I speak Draconic.
You can roll an intelligence check if you would like to try to see if you understand what she says.
Natural 20.
Nice.
-1.
Yeah, -1, but natural 20.
I think we should do that to him.
What she's kind of murmuring to Kenny is just utter nonsense. She's about 4 years old. She's very small, very tiny, and she's just talking about just kind of just babbling and just saying little small words like my teddy bear and like looking at like Kenny's like little wired mask and saying that it's like pretty and like very shyly, and then kind of tucking herself back in.
She says, Teddy, grizzly, mask pretty.
Oh, well, thank you. And she reaches inside and pulls like a quill, like a little ink bottle, and pours some of it in her hand, and like extends her hand so she can like put her hand in the ink, and like she's gonna like model putting her hand on the ink and putting it on the paper.
Okay.
Hey, what's that contract there say? I wasn't aware of any extra contracts.
I mean, you can have a contract if you want, but
I don't want a
I
contract.
think you
I just
do.
want to know what this
But
is.
this is between me and her. So as soon as we're done, it's just a promise of protection.
Hey, you okay with the little lady signing a contract that she doesn't have the wherewithal to know what she's signing?
The matron steps up and she approaches and just grabs like Baron's hand before she like slaps the ink on the paper, and she's like, yeah, I would actually like to know what exactly you're having this small child sign for.
I mean, I can read the contract if that makes it easier on anyone, but again, it's just to make sure that I can properly protect everyone involved. Shall I read it? Let
Please.
me wait for the person piloting me to find their note. Okay.
I think we all
So,
were.
I, and then you would write or paw print, claw print, whatever, hereby grant the provider the service pirate healer, me, full permission using traditional and or arcane methods at the pirate healer's discretion to heal those who sign the contract with the intention of avoiding permanent death. There's more, but I think we covered it. Do you want to keep going, or?
Yeah, is there a clause that says that she owes you something if you heal her?
Yes. In exchange for the services of pirate healing, the client will supply the agreed upon fee and harbor no malevolence, willing attempts to murder, theft, or snitch toward the provider, and by signing this contract, consent to all agreed methods of healing. So just don't be a jerk.
Is that the whole thing? Is there more?
Oh, I mean, there's a clause about drowning, but it's really not that important.
Oh, I can stop that. That's fine.
Great.
Pirate healing? Is that... I hope that's homeopathic. Pirate?
I just tend to work for pirates. It's easier if you say pirate healing and not medicine or anything weird like that. If you put pirate in front of things, pirates tend to get excited about it, so...
Oh, so it's like a branding thing.
Exactly. See? It's exciting. And then she sticks out the contract a little bit more towards the 4-year-old.
The major kind of looks to Knock for like assurance that this is the proper way to go, and he kind of just gives her a reassuring nod that this is a part of the process. So the matron kind of just helps her stamp her hand onto the signature side.
Snuvall's gonna like approach and be like as everyone's focused on the child, be like, are you gonna provide us with a ship and materials, a map?
If you have not traveled here with a ship, we can provide one. That should be easy enough, and with all the supplies you would need for transport and travel. I assure you all, or in some way, can navigate a small vessel across the sea.
I have a ship myself. I came here on it.
Oh.
I'm talented enough behind an oar.
Well then, we can provide, the choice is yours. We can provide you a ship, or we can load your ship up with all the proper supplies.
Eli,
No,
would my ship be able to carry everyone if we...
Yes, your ship is large enough to carry everyone.
Okay.
no, I know everyone's really emotional over this very cute little kid, but is there any kind of compensation you can give us for this task?
Well, there are things that the king that the colony could possibly provide you in terms of wealth, unless there is something else particularly that you're looking for.
No, I just want enough money to get home to my tribe. I don't think it's much.
Oh, we can even procure you safe passage to what part are you heading towards?
Oh, Odenau, north.
North, like Bunai?
Yeah, around there.
Okay.
Oh, we can talk about it later, we don't have to talk about it right now.
Sure, certainly. kind of eyes you up and down. Can you roll me a perception check?
That's a 7.
You hear the two Lukiman guards murmur something to each other, but they don't. You can't quite pick up what they're saying, even in Nikesian.
Well, I will save your people any sort of putting out. I have a boat that I think could procure all of us and keep us safe in our travels.
Excellent. Well, then we can, first thing in the morning, load your ship up with supplies and send you on your way and get the proper charters.
Well, shouldn't we try and leave sooner rather than later, since we've only got a small window of time? With the summer coming to a close.
I mean, it is evening, and it's not always the best to start a journey in the evening, in the middle of the night.
If you're trying to get her out secretly, though, it might be good.
I'd rather not sail at night if it's preferable to everyone else. The seas can be dangerous that way.
That makes sense.
I'm sorry, I just want to be perfectly clear. Are you granting us a request if we complete this, or is it gold? I'm just confused on that one more time.
In terms of compensation? Well, we can give you some money for the task now, and if you return after delivering the cargo, then we can require the rest of it. The safe passage for your friend and anything else you might be interested in. We only have so much money, but we can give you what you need, and all the ready supplies.
I don't need no coin for helping a little lady out.
I agree. I don't need much.
Yeah, we can figure it out later once we get back.
How much money do you have?
We're willing to offer at least 500 gold for the time being now.
Each.
And then...
As a team.
Together.
Total.
As a team.
We can work with that.
Who's towards the back of the room, towards the window?
Probably me. I'd probably, laid out my shells. Just in case the small child wants to investigate any further into the room. But I'm probably furthest back.
I think I'm still by the child after they sign the contract.
I'm actually closest to Knock, I would say.
Xauti, roll me a perception check.
Ooh, natural 19, so 26.
You're close to the window, so you can hear the festivities continuing on outside. The loud music, the sounds of the crowds, the oohing, the ahs, and the occasional firework that continues to pop off, pops and pops and pops. But throughout one of those moments where the firecrackers are popping off, you hear a burst that sounds just a little bit different. You recognize that being on a ship, this particular sound, as you now hear a screeching bit of metal that seems to be coming closer to you. Everybody in the room, roll me a dexterity saving throw. Amanda, please roll that at disadvantage.
Yes. You already had to do that.
Do I have anything to help me now?
Dirty 20.
I rolled an 18.
13?
A 9.
A 6.
With disadvantage, I still got 17.
Okay.
I don't like anything that's happening right now.
Shit went south.
Okay. Xauti, because you rolled high enough, I will allow you to do one thing before this shit happens.
So there's a screeching outside the window.
Yeah, you recognize that as a familiar sound of cannon fire.
Oh, I'm booking toward that kid, and I'm gonna try and just wrap her up and keep her safe. I'm running past all of them and just diving.
Everybody else, as you're continuing to talk to Knock and gather more information, settle your arrangements and agreement, that all of a sudden sees the form of Xauti just kind of fully erect to a 7-foot tall height. Doesn't even say a word. They grab her and even tackling the matron at the same time when a giant loud bang abruptly crashes through the window as an explosion goes off. Those who rolled under a 19, you've been pushed off your feet and you have sustained 7 points of damage.
Whoa.
As you're knocked prone as the...
That's if we failed or succeeded?
If you failed.
Do I take that running across the room?
Yeah, you'll take that running across the room. But you have managed to also, Elise, buffer yourself between Baron and the matron, as this entire office has just been ripped apart from an explosion of 2 rounds of cannon fire that erupt on either side of the office. It's a moment as those who are knocked around are trying to gather their bearings. Anchor and Rad, roll me perception checks as you guys are getting to your feet.
A 19.
9.
You guys are closest to what's left of where the window used to be, and as you kind of are slowly getting to your feet and dusting the soot and debris off, you notice that 3 ships in the harbor firing off their cannons into the city. And Anchor, you recognize some of these ships as some of the ships that you had passed through on your way that were part outside of port when you entered into the city.
As Rad is like stumbling up, he just says, Anchor, what the heck just worked us, man?
A cannon fire. There's invaders off the dock.
And as you two are kind of looking, the wind is kind of blowing in your guys' face and stuff like that, you do hear the collective now, once jovial sounds and tones of the festival has now turned into screams and terror as you start seeing the shuffling of people moving throughout this window. Kenny and Trig, roll me perception checks as you guys are getting your bearings.
10.
15.
Kenny, you're still kind of gathering yourself as the debris and dust is settled, so you don't quite see it. But Trig, as you get up, and you notice Nock is on the ground, and he's been kind of pierced through with some of the debris of a beam that had come over, and it looks like he is on his way out as he's kind of gasping for air. But he sees you, and you guys kind of interlock eyes for a second, and he kind of reaches out and kind of tries to usher you to come forward.
I'll try to flip him over on his back, and I'll yell, Kenny, I know you didn't sign your damn contract, but you best be getting to work.
Crap. I'm gonna run over and just say, you heard most of it. I just need you to touch this paper, please.
God damn it, woman, would you just heal him?
Nock, as you're like thrusting that contract in front of his face, instead reaches into his robe and he pulls out a scroll of some kind and he kind of puts it in your hand instead. And he says to you, you have to get to Al Janan by the end of summer. And then you just kind of hear the last bit of whispery breath as he dies.
No.
That's on you.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Okay.
If I didn't need you so bad, I'm gonna put you down right here and now just for that.
We need to get out of here as fast as we can. They're going to fire again.
Agreed.
Snuvall, yeah, as he died, did I see anything in particular happen to Nock in his body? Did anything emerge that I see?
You are, when the impact hit, burst of just light hits your vision as everything kind of just went white. And then you just felt the pressure and the movement of being pushed through the air by some force, and you're on the ground. And as you're like, all you hear is just like this loud, like ringing in like your fucking ears as you're just trying to get your bearing. But as that kind of starts to like fade away, as your vision starts to kind of come back, you do hear something. You hear the sounds of sliding coins being collected off a scale as the ringing is slowly kind of like turning into that cadence of plucking of coins.
I've got a couple questions. One, does it seem like the boats that attacked, are they still attacking the atoll, or does it look like they've done their job and they're moving on?
No, they're steady firing into this atoll.
Okay, I'm going to look at Anchor and I'm going to say, I can stop those ships, but I've got to get within 300 feet of them.
Okay, we'll do that.
And then just so we better understand, this building we're in, is it high off the ground? Is it just basically on ground level?
It is higher up in terms of the overall like layout of Tengu, as like Tengu's kind of stacked up on top of each other. So it's on a precipice, so there's ways that you can go down, but there's like various alleyways and stuff that you've seen throughout traveling between the different market that would lead there.
I'm just gonna turn to Anchor and say, you can find me at the docks, dude, and then I'm gonna literally leap out and on my longboard try to surf through the town to get as close to the docks as I can.
Fly on that damn thing?
Oh no! I'm gonna like ride down the side of the building and then see if I can get to like a sloped street or something. I'm just getting there as fast as I can.
Roll me an athletics check or acrobatic.
Amazing.
It's so fucking cool.
An 18.
Yeah, you just grab the board and like you see that the way that the roofs slant, that you seem to be able to like hop from slat to slat of roof towards somewhere reasonable to jump off as you just slide, and you hear just the sounds of tiles breaking as you hear a jump and another crash and another crash. Eventually you get down low enough where you can kind of topple down onto the actual side street.
I'm just gonna spend like as many turns as it takes to get to within 300 feet of these ships.
Okay. What is everybody else doing?
I'm charging after the turtle.
I'm gonna push myself up. I'm so sorry. You all right? Is everyone okay?
You look down, Xauti, and you notice that Baran seems to be okay, though she's now crying. She's in tears as she's got like soot and debris just kind of now scattered on her small face. The matron is there as well, but it appears that her leg is broken as she's kind of grabbing onto it, and you can kind of even see a bit of the bone sticking out on the side of the leg. And
Mask lady.
So what do you want to do?
I think they said her name's Kenny. Can you fix her leg?
I can.
I'll just kind of like back up, and I'll if the kid is letting me, I'll just like sit her in my lap and wait for Kenny to come over.
Right. So again, if everyone can just sign this paper as quick as possible, I would love to do that. Please. And she holds out the paper again. Please just.
Anchor, Trig, roll me perception checks while Kenny is talking. Sorry.
I have a 16.
24.
24. You're hearing commotion coming around from like inside the outer parts, like where you guys entered and stuff like that. You're hearing like a lot of shouting and screaming and crying, and like something's going on the outside of this building.
I'll direct myself in that direction.
Okay. You head down there, and as you kind of look out into it, there's just a stream of people just flooding the street, and what you can kind of see in the distance looks to be people wearing leather type of armor and hide, running through the city and kind of toppling over carts and swinging their weapons and firing loose arrows.
I will cock a stick of dynamite into my crossbow, fire it over my head to make a loud noise, and I'll scream out, "Everybody inside now!"
You hear, everybody inside hears this loud bang as these guys have now taken attention to you, Trig, and are now making their way as other people are like scattering, but the loud sound kind of makes them like duck and scatter, and they're not listening to you. They're full of fear, and they're just continuing to run somewhere else. But you've gotten the notice of the four that are...
Can I see now?
Good.
Oh, well,
yes, you
he
can see
just went
now.
off a stick of dynamite. Can I see, or am I still at disadvantage?
You're far enough to it wouldn't affect you, but you hear the loud burst and you know the direction in which it's coming from, as it just appears like a bright light in your periffs.
And the trench coat drops to the ground.
Oh, shit.
What are you doing?
Concerned.
That remains to be seen.
Everybody else, before you get into this, anybody else trying to do something? Baran is crying. She's murmuring something to herself over and over again. The matron's leg is broken, but you guys...
Did she sign the paper?
Did not sign. She didn't sign the paper. She has yet to sign the paper. She's reeling in pain. Her leg is busted and broken.
Listen, in my experience, cannons fire more than once. We need to leave. We need to grab that child and go. Matron, can you give us permission, please? We need to go.
She eventually just take her. I'll be fine. Just please, just take her. Get her out of the city, wherever she needs to go. Just please keep her safe.
Stay close. I can protect you. We'll lead our way downstairs.
I'll pick her up.
Are we clear?
I'll pick her up and kind of whisper, "I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then
she's continually to say, do you speak Primordial?
No, I only speak Giant and Common.
She's saying something, she's murmuring something over and over, and she's kind of getting upset, and she's kind of like reaching out down towards the mage. She's crying as you guys are making your way out. Amanda, did you want to do something?
How much does the matron weigh?
She's fairly large. I mean, Leukemans are tall people naturally, so they're about 7. She's about 7 feet, but she's a very large woman.
Because I can lift at 300, and I would be like, can I scoop up this?
You can roll a strength check, and you can try.
Can I assist?
Sure. Are you gonna both try to carry this matron with you?
Yes.
Roll me strength checks.
Oh Lord, please.
Dragonborn blood work. I got a 5.
Oh God, I got a 14.
Oh no. I can lift 300 pounds. I can't do this. Okay.
Given the awkwardness of her shape and the fact that her leg is broken, so there's no real leverage to really pick her up, you both try to lift her, but she's not budging, and eventually she just kind of slaps your guys' hands away, and she's like, there's no time. Please protect Baran and get her where she needs to go. I will be fine.
I will do a very, very quick prayer, like under my breath, to Hellamore as I go ahead and lead towards the other door.
I'm gonna cast Spare the Dying on them.
Okay.
And then run. Wait, make sure everyone else is running, right? Okay, good then.
Yeah, everily else
Yes, then we're
has
running.
taken off.
Then we're running out.
Moving in formation. We've got the kid and Xauti in the middle, and then we're sort of diamonding around them.
Yeah, can I say that I took the wolf mask I have and I put it over their face? I say, "Oh, you're a wolf man. You're so big and strong." And I'll reach into my little pouch that I have my seashells in, and I'm gonna find like a really big, smooth one, and I'm just gonna like hold it in the hand that has her. I'm just gonna hold it like in front of her if she wants to like hold something to play with, and then I'll draw my short sword with the other
She
hand.
eventually takes it, and it seems to console her for the moment, and so you kind of put that little, you put the mask over her face, but she's still kind of crying, and you can still hear her kind of like inhaling and making that noise that little kids make when they've cried too much. But you guys have now exited this building, and you see Trig, who's now taking off his coat, and 4 raiders that seem to be approaching. Kenny, you recognize them as the guys that you had seen earlier in the day that you were playing Lizard Race with.
This is ridiculous.
Maybe I shouldn't have rushed off.
But
Gotta blow those boats up, man.
But the city street is very busy, and even these guys who are trying to push through all of these scattered people to try to get way, and they're still a ways away. But there is another way down the alleyway where some other people have scattered off, and Trig seems to be between you and that other opening.
I'll call back. I got these guys. You get the kid to the boat.
You all gonna run?
I'm hesitant because him against 4 combatants sounds a lot
Yeah,
like a
exactly. I'm staying because they're my problem.
I call out to him. No, it's better if we stay together. We need all of you to protect her.
I'll meet you there.
That sounds like a terrible idea. You can just run with us right now.
I'll stay. Snuvall will stop, groan, and then she's like, "I'll stay behind. I'll bring him up. I'll bring him back."
So you guys are going to stay.
Staying.
You're all staying.
Oh, we're all staying? Okay, good.
Just gonna hold them off long enough for you to get away, I promise.
Yeah, we're all gonna do that.
Yeah, we're all gonna stay. We're
We're all in this together.
They're about 15 feet away from you guys as you guys have now kind of stand your ground. There's still people kind of checking you as they're still scattering through the street. But yeah, the guys have drawn their swords and they're approaching you. Fuck, let's roll initiative.
Blood.
Natural 20! Ooh, hell yeah. Don't sign the contract.
15.
I have a 9.
I've got an 11.
A 12.
I'm so excited.
19.
So Kenny's going to charge up to them, and you can see sort of like flashes of light coming from underneath her mask and out of her mouth, and she's going to get as close as she can and cast inflict wounds on as many people as she can. I roll a 25 to hit.
25 hits all of them.
Less,
one
so I've
saves.
got 3d10 for that. That's 21 points of damage.
Whack, whack.
And then I'm going to cast Command as a bonus action using my, what is it, like Voice of Authority? That is a save. 14, like I said.
Yeah, as they approach Kenny, you just kind of step forward, and as that light kind of pours out from you, you just touch one of them, and you just all of a sudden their whole like body just kind of breaks out into like sores and wounds and that as they just eventually just collapse on the ground.
Wait, are they still
Because
okay?
no, you just you
Then I will
kill the
go-
fuck out of them, and then
Ready to go.
I will go to another one and cast Command.
and as you still have that smoldering light that's kind of peeking through your the wires of your mask, that you just like turn to another person. Yeah, they didn't save that throw. They it was an 8.
Then I just say, and there's like maybe a couple other voices in her voice, and they just say, a squat for a while.
Yeah, just kind of seeing that fear and that ethereal, angelic energy that you're just spouting right now. He just kind of just gets on his knees immediately and puts his like weapon down, and he just bows at you. And he's kind of like also kind of like looking down at his friend, who's just kind of a dead pile of sewers. One of the bandits is going to finally make its way through the crowd, and since unfortunately, Kenny, you are the closest to him, he's going to take a short sword to you as he pushes through the other guy. That's a miss, though. You just take a step straight to the side as you hear just the ringing of the sword just swiping past you as it clacks down onto the street below you as he misses.
Have I made it to the shore? Or, better question, am I within 300 feet of the...
No, you're not quite 300 feet. You would be probably next round.
All good. I'll spend my entire turn running, using my action and just getting as close as I can.
You're pushing through people. You're trying to get out of the way as all this franticness is happening and going on. Trig, you're up.
Okay. So there's 3 guys left, right? Okay. And so first of all, both of the crossbows come out. Anyone standing nearby, you're going to hear a series of clicks kind of go off on his back and legs as 2 bolts shoot into the air over his shoulders. The crossbows come up, whack, whack. The crossbows latch into the bow. He cocks it against his waist, and he's letting one fly. And the guy's taking a swing at Kenny there. I'm going to take sharpshooter on that as well.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do a precision attack on that, which gives me an extra D8 on the attack roll. 16. So that's going to be 15 to hit on that one.
That'll hit.
Okay. So that, of course, is plus 10 damage because of sharpshooter.
Amazing.
So that's going to be, well, I roll a 1, but that's still going to be 4. That's going to be 14 points of damage on the first hit. Second attack. I didn't say sharpshooter, so it's just going to be straight. That's going to be a 22 to hit.
That'll hit.
That's going to be 9 points of piercing damage.
Is this on the same guy, or is it on? Is it split?
Same guy.
Okay, yeah. As the sword hits the ground, he hears the loosing of the bolt as he's like turns around and he just takes one straight in the chest and it like pushes him down a little bit, but he tries to get back up and like make his way towards you, and you shoot him again, and he just gets down on his feet in a run, and he just dies right in front of your feet.
Crossbows turn to the next guy. Crossbow expert bonus action attack.
So many words.
All right,
Sharpshooter.
we're going.
Oh my god!
Natural 1. I miss him. Action surge. 2 more attacks. I'll roll them at the same time.
We're going, kids.
Well, go on then.
Jeez, cowboy.
First one is going to be a 22 to hit even with sharpshooter. Okay, so that's going to be 18 points of piercing damage. Second one, I'm going to do a precision strike using my 3rd superiority die for the day. That's going to be a 16 to hit, which I believe hits.
Yeah, as you pop off those 2 shots on the first guy and stuff like that, it's almost like instinct as you just jut it around and you pop off those secondary shots. As the guy is like running full force, he just hits straight into your arrows and it knocks him prone, and yeah, he doesn't get back up. As far as you know, the 4 that had approached you with weapons drawn are now dead. So we're out of initiative.
All right, on to the boats we go. And I'm just going to use my 30 feet of movement to start booking it towards the harbor.
Okay.
I'll make sure to grab my cards on the way.
Good. We're not playing games.
Not playing games. Brad, you are within 300 feet by now as you've pushed through.
Okay, so I come huffing and puffing up to the shoreline. I put my feet in the water and like I reach into my bandolier and I pull out this kind of gray powder and I close my eyes and I sprinkle the gray powder into the waves. And as I'm like concentrating, I begin raising my hands up and the water begins to recede unnaturally from the shoreline, and I'm going to cast Control Water. My intention is to control the water around one of the closest ships, and I want to redirect its cannons onto one of its enemies.
Okay.
God damn.
Or excuse me, one of its allies. So I want to aim the ship at one of its allies and have it fire.
Sure, yes.
Let my people go.
Thank you so much.
Rad. As you run to the shoreline and you take out that ash and you sprinkle it into the water and you cast Control Water, and as you kind of just like push your hand out, you just see like the ocean like just part its ways a little bit, enough for you to kind of now stand inside like where the shore once was and has receded, and you're holding it and you're pushing it as the water starts to just collect collect and collect and collect. And as a nearest ship that's kind of close, it's a galleon ship, but instead of the regular sails, they're kind of like spine fin sails scatter across its back like a fish would. You eventually collect so much water that it kind of pushes and brushes up against it enough to where it's starting to just teeter and shift and turn slowly. And as it's turning, like the cannons are still going off and just powering it. It's still hitting parts of the city, but eventually it's now turning its sights over to other ships, and eventually it's slowly now turning towards one of the other ships that are in the harbor. I'll say that maybe next turn it'll finally fully turn around. Everybody else, roll me athletics checks as you have to now navigate through this crowd to get to where you're going. You're still holding, Xauti is still holding on to Baran, who is wearing a little wolf mask.
Solid 7.
Big 8.
17.
Dirty 20.
26.
Kenny, Anchor, and Snuvall, it's easy for you to navigate through this crowd. You're seeing the openings between the cadence of people running, and then you're able to kind of duck and weave. But as you guys, the rest of you are pushing in, Trig, you and Xauti kind of get bottlenecked by a group of people, and you guys are slowing down with the rest of the pack as everybody is continuing to push forward. Eventually, you guys make it back to the food court area as like tables have been overturned, tapestries are on fire, and scatters of fruits and vegetables and meat all over the floor. There is tons of people still kind of traversing down the same way that you're going to, but you also notice that that the canal on the opposite side seems to be a little bit more freer, but you will have to jump over the boat that are parked along the sides to get across. Which way would you like to go? You can either go down and cross the canal, or you guys can continue to push through this crowd.
I can make it.
Hold on. I'm gonna. Is it possible for me to do Hour of Reaping, where if I do it, like I can just do a roar to scare people out of our way for a dex saving throw? I'm sorry, wisdom saving throw, or they're gonna be frightened. So if they're frightened, they can just fuck off from us. Can I do that?
Sure, you can try that.
Hell yeah.
I did a 4.
Oh no.
I don't know if it would.
Snuvall, you're like, you think you got it, and you try to run up to the crowd, and you just take this stance of some kind as you like try to push out this roar.
Nothing.
But nothing comes. Like your throat kind of tightens and it cracks the ends and stuff, and nothing really comes out. As everybody just sees you make this like monk stance motion, and nothing happened.
We all get performance anxiety from time to time.
To roll my head and just move.
There's too many crowds. Go for the canals.
Can I like parkour from boat to boat across the canal?
Yeah, roll me an acrobatics check.
That's all of us?
Yes, everybody. Everybody's running across this canal.
24.
10.
21.
18.
Xauti, it's easy enough for you, given your size, given your length and your knack for acrobatics. You easily just, in one bound, jump from one ship to another boat and make it over to the canal. Kenny, Anchor, and Snuvall, you guys take a second to kind of balance yourself on the first boat, but you guys get your rhythm, and you're able to jump from boat to get to the other side of the canal. Trig, you jumped on the first boat, and you kind of rocked really hard, and it took a second for you to stabilize yourself, but it takes a minute for you to slowly jump from boat to boat. As you're climbing up to the top of the other side of the canal, roll me a dex save.
The adrenaline is coming down.
Got too excited with the bandits.
Yeah, I did. That's gonna be a fucking 12.
A 12?
Yeah. I'm paying for that natural 20 at the top of the
Yeah,
game.
you are. You hear the sound of an arrow whoosh through the air, and it hits you. You take 3 points of piercing damage as it knocks into your shoulder, but you still manage to prop yourself up, but it clips you as you like get to your feet. On the other side of the canal, you see another set of bandits and raiders who have noticed you guys fleeing and have taken shots at you.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
You gonna keep running?
Keep running.
All right. Rad, you're still pushing and moving that boat. The boat's getting pretty close to fully turning all the way and is now firing off into the opposite side, into the bay area, crashing into other boats. Misses not the boat that's firing in, but another boat adjacent to it as it rips through. As now that boat has caught fire, but eventually it's finally moved fully over and has taken 2 shots at one of the adjacent ships. And it hits as the 2 cannon fires rips into the bow of it, setting the lower half of it on fire on its one of its faces, but it's still managing to pop off a shot, loses 2 more cannon into the city.
I will spend my action. I can, I'm like still using control water. I think I'll just. Did one of the ships take damage?
Yeah,
from it?
it's taking damage and it's on fire, but it's still got enough left in it to keep firing off shots.
I am going to move my control water from one ship to the ship that was just damaged, and I'm going to cast a vortex, which is a 50-foot wide at the top and 25 feet deep.
Whoa.
And the point is that the ship is going to have to make an athletics check, or it's going to take some damage.
Literal fucking whirlpool.
What's the DC for the athletic?
14.
I got a 4.
The ship is going to take an additional 10 damage.
Okay. Yeah, it seems that that vortex that this ship is kind of caught in it, as it's now kind of also spinning in its place in underneath as this vortex is forging, and it seems like it's taking on some water.
And like as I'm like casting, like really thick purple black smoke is starting to emanate from beneath the eye patch, and he just says to himself, "Sorry for the crease, dude," and just like continues to mess with the ships.
The rest of you have kind of traversed through the back end of the food court area, where a lot of the food was being had, and have now reached back into the art district. There's nobody there. It's actually very quiet here, as it seems that everybody's abandoned it. There's some fire on the residual buildings around it, but overall it doesn't look like anything was really disturbed. Like, tables have toppled over from people kind of knocking into it and stuff, but there's nobody seemingly here. Everybody here, roll me a perception check.
13.
22.
14.
16.
12.
Yeah, you guys are just kind of searching around, kind of catching your breath as you guys have been running for a little bit, assessing any additional damage. Trig, there's an arrow in your shoulder that has not been addressed. But yeah, you're taking a second to breathe. Something catches your eye. It looks like a half elf. He's wearing like full leather armor. As you like kind of look at him, his form doesn't seem like it's solid. It seems like it's got a little opacity behind it, and you can kind of see like the leg of the stall right behind him. But he like watches you for a second, and eventually the image fades.
Really quickly, can I like lean up against a wall, my shoulder that has the arrow in it, and just push against it to snap the stem off?
You hear the clacking of the arrow breaking, and it's uncomfortable, but it's a lot better than whole arrow.
Refreshing.
The rest of you, as you guys are kind of catching your breath, you do hear the sounds of footsteps and people coming closer. You don't know if it's random citizens who are still running through the town or it's an enemy, but they're growing closer. As you guys continue to progress and forward, roll me a dexterity saving throw.
14.
18.
12.
18.
9.
As you guys are running through this alleyway end, like one of the buildings just erupts into and explodes around you as you guys are pushed up or kind of scattered amongst this debris, and you guys kind of get your bearings and around. You notice that like who's with you is not everybody's like there as the dust settles, and you guys seem to be on different sides. Trig, Kenny, you guys are together. The rest of you are Xauti, Snuvall, and Anchor. You guys seem to be on the opposite side of what appears to be piles of rubble and of the building that has just exploded.
I shout out, keep moving, we'll find our own way.
Okay, we'll see you down by the dock.
I'm gonna check over the kid, make sure she's not hurt, and then...
She's got more soot and what looks to be like scratches and debris, but you've been kind of covering her entirely, and she's such a small child that you've been able to kind of scathe off a lot of the damage. Everybody takes 5 points of bludgeoning damage from that explosion as you guys get to your feet. And roll me survival checks so you can get your bearings and figure out where you are in the city and how to get down to the docks. While you guys are rolling that stuff, Rad, what are you wanting to do down at the docks? Your vortex is still going and stuff like that.
I think I'll just keep it up. I'll keep pummeling the same ship that has just gotten hit. So on their turn, or if you want on my turn, they have to make another athletics check, and if they fail, they take 2d8.
Yeah, no, that's a 9.
Ooh, nice. They take 13 bludgeoning damage as the waves are just pummeling them.
Yeah, I mean, as you continue to just suck this vortex, this ship deeper into this vortex, and it's starting to take on water, and you can even see like the residual fire from where the initial cannon blast is seeming to like starting to extinguish as like water is starting to fill, and it looks like the ship is starting to sink within this vortex that you have formed. But you're gonna keep that up?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my allies to come.
What were your survival checks, friends?
21.
Fat 8.
Dirty 20.
I got the unholy nat 1.
Oh no!
Shodi, you kind of look up, and between you and Anchor, you guys can you can hear the sounds of the harbor bell, and it seems fairly close to you guys. And you kind of like find like where it's going, and you see an alleyway that kind of like leads towards that direction. You guys are gonna head that way. Snuvall, you're kind of just still catching your bearings and not really paying attention when you notice that at the very least, when you turn around, you just see the last bit of like Anchor's like robage just kind of flicking in the corner as they have like turned the corner and left you there, thinking that you were gonna follow them.
Can I dash after them?
I'll call it like dragon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You slowly run after them. Kenny and Trig, you turn around, and the only place you see is another alleyway, and it looks fairly empty, as you guys are kind of you guys kind of been blocked off from the other path that you guys were walking on. Seems like you kind of like was pushed into like this small side alley from the explosion.
Yeah, about that. I got the plan B. I'm gonna pull out another stick of dynamite.
All right.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna wait until I feel like the allies on the other side of the rubble are gone, and I'm just gonna put a stick of dynamite into the rubble, and just kind of like strike the fuse and step back into the alleyway.
How much dynamite do you fucking have?
I'm gonna grab Trig and say, I'm sure you'll be able to see it from farther away. Let's go. And drag him down the alleyway, if possible.
Just roll me a deck save, because you dynamite in the alley.
Why would you not? Why would you not?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why.
So, technically speaking, if you're within 5 feet of it, you have to make a DC 12 dex saving throw.
I'll say Kenny pulls you out far enough that you guys don't have to do deck saves, but just as you get to the end of the alleyway, the dynamite goes off, and it's just like a rubble scatters across this very loudly. You do blast a hole in that debris, as it's just rocks and loose wood, and yeah, you've poked a hole in.
We probably could have moved it with our arms, but that's okay. Let's go. I'll scurry through the hole.
Kenny looks at the perfectly empty alleyway. The perfectly empty alleyway. All right, what are you gonna do?
You are a long way around kind of person, and follows you through the tunnel that you've made, back on track, hopefully.
Technically, this is the more direct route.
Is it? It's fine. It's fine.
Hey, with this intelligence, it's the most direct route.
Yeah,
Can't argue with that.
It's true. Amen. Shodi, Anchor, and Snuvall, you guys have tucked into another alleyway, and you guys have been running down it for a moment. And it seems like you've been running for quite a while. It seems like you're just running and running. You hear the harbor bells, and it doesn't seem like it's ever getting really closer. Who's in the front? Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
Nice.
24.
As you're running, you blink for a second, and there's just a wall that appears, but you manage to skirt around it as there's another part of the alleyway that you can turn into. You kind of like stop with enough time to kind of turn, and with enough time for everybody in the back of you to see that you're making a hard left into this side street. You guys continue down to this alleyway into a larger section where there's another row of market stands, and you guys progress a little bit further. Roll me another wisdom saving throw.
16.
16. What you think is the continuation of this alleyway, and all of a sudden you take a step over one part of the road and you feel nothing. You barely manage to grab onto something as you fall through, and all of a sudden you see nothing but just debris as this section of this road has been kind of eaten away by cannon fire, and there's fire. Now that you are holding on to this rubble, that you notice that there's just a chunk missing and just a wide hole down to another level of the street below you.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold myself in the threshold and put a hand back to everyone behind me. The city's playing tricks on us. Something's happening. And, I'm looking down at the rubble. Is there anywhere else we can go to skirt this? Back the way we came? Or can I start feeling the walls to see what is real and what isn't?
You feel around and like what you see now feels real. The edges of this street, you're able to kind of put yourself up and you look and you see that just giant chunk. It's only about maybe 10 feet or so of a jump across this road that you could, or there's another side alley that you see in this area that might lead down to the lower part where you were kind of, what you kind of see.
Any inclination of what would be faster to get to the docks?
Roll me a survival check.
Okay. I have a 17.
17. As you kind of look at the lower part of the road, you do notice that it's emptier down in that lower street. When you go across the way, you see a collection of people that are still trying to make their way down to what the dock areas would be. But you know that eventually you'll have to go down another level to get to the docks anyways, as it tears down all the way flat to the dock area.
I'm gonna follow that easier street then.
Rad, coming back to you.
So, what does it look like the other ships are doing? For instance, I moved one of them. Is it trying to redirect itself? There's a third one I haven't even touched. Is it just still shooting into the city?
Yeah, the one you had initially pushed in that direction is now trying to round about themselves and put them back into a position of fire as you're slowly sinking this other ship. It seems that the other ship that is also catching fire has just been continuing on its course. There are various boats now in the harbor that are attempting to flee, and you can notice that some ships that are making their way out of Tengu has been actually assaulted by the back end of some of those cannon fire and is essentially trying to bust any ship's attempts to leave the harbor as well.
If I'm within range of 300 feet, I'll try to target some of the civilian boats, and I'll just use and control water. I'll redirect flow and make them move faster out of the harbor. Just have a big wave hit them in the back, and they just move as fast as possible.
Sure. Kind of bring your hands up as the vortex slowly starts to dissipate, collecting all that water together, and you finally kind of bring it towards yourself, and you just kind of push out, and that wave just kind of ripples through the harbor, and it catches the tail of some of those ships that are making their way out, and it is pushing those ships faster along, and you can even see one or two making it to that narrow pass and making their way.
And I'm looking behind my shoulder where are my fellow dudes?
Roll me a perception check. Since you've been kind of focused on the ocean, you haven't really been taking a look.
Dirty 20.
You turn around and you just can take in the level of damage that's just being assaulted over Tengu Atoll, as a good part of its structure is on fire. You're seeing just the scattered of people trying to make it to ships, trying to make it to safety somewhere. But you also notice one other thing. Somebody who's standing at the main entrance of where the docks are, just standing there waiting. He's wearing black armor and he's just casually, just calmly, just standing there amongst the fray.
I'll call out to him. You should get to safety, dude. But he's completely stoic, just standing there.
He's completely stoic. He doesn't. No, he doesn't seem to notice your calls to him as he just continues to look out at the city that is burning and being destroyed. Trig and Kenny, you guys have tunneled your way through this debris, and you've made it out, and you are running back down the same road that you were traversing down. And eventually, you kind of cross over this one bridge onto the other side, and you're making your way down, and you can see the docks just about a tier or so away. And eventually you take a couple stairs on down a side of what appears to be a residential housing area. You are now at the dock level. Roll me perception checks.
Great. 6.
I did a little better than that. I got an 11.
It's just chaos down where you guys are at. As you're seeing people trying to flee, there's some people even looting, as you're seeing people carrying off with items and trinkets that are a little too large, and why are you carrying that kind of stuff in the middle of all of this stress? And a lot of the dock area is on fire. Some of the fishermen's ship, but you guys don't know what Anchor's boat looks like, and you don't see any of your allies. But Trig, you do notice something. in the crowd the face of a half-elf man that kind of seems like he's standing, waiting, though there are people kind of pushing through him. And Kenny, you finally look around, and
How far away is he?
he's about 30 feet away from you. You can kind of just give out his shape. What stands out about him is that he's just not moving. He's just standing there. Kenny, when you kind of see, he kind of looks like the person that you had seen down at Art Market. But he's just standing there waiting.
I mean, I see him standing there like an idiot, not seeing anything else to do right now. I'm gonna run, and I'm just gonna try to like grab him and fireman him over my shoulder as I keep running, trying to take him to safety with me.
Okay, roll me a strength check. Are you gonna be sneaky about this, or are you just running straight for
I'm
it?
just gonna fucking grab him. I'm just gonna.
Okay.
It's a strength.
You, like, for some reason, you believe that this man is in danger because he's just either in shock or something, because he's just not moving. So you run up to him and you're like, I'm going to save you.
I don't even say anything. I'm just gonna like try to like shoulder check him, and at the same time kind of like scoop him up and just keep running with him.
As you attempt to pick him up, you realize that he doesn't have any mass to him, as you kind of like your arms kind of slink through.
What?
And he just corporalizes and disappears.
Well, that was weird. Let's keep
I'm
running.
going to ask him. Next time we see that ghost, just let me do the talking.
Weird request.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Let's go.
Xauti, Anchor, and Snuvall, you guys have gone down similar stairs in a different part of the market areas and are slowly making your way. It seems like it makes a bend, as there's like a wall down at the end of this staircase that kind of makes the stairwell jut and turn a different direction. And you eventually go down these stairs and you come out of the dock area. And as you enter into this chaos and fray, you notice, since you're at the heart of where the dock kind of intersects from all around the coastline, you see a guy with black armor just casually standing at the front of the docks, and he appears to just be waiting for something.
I want to look into him. I want to see him. Like, what is that?
You want to
see what he gives off to me.
He gives off an aura of just fear. That's what you feel from it. Just straight fear.
Does the scales show up to me or no?
The scales show up to you, and it teeters towards not being a very good person. But he's just standing there, waiting. You guys are at the docks now. There is still people moving about, trying to get to their ships.
Where's your ship? Where's the ship that's from where we're standing?
It's just there on the dock. It's past that guy in the black armor, right? We have to walk past him to get there.
Yeah.
It's past that gentleman in the black armor. It's the farthest side.
I'm gonna approach the gentleman and be like, I'm just gonna approach him. You need to step aside.
He doesn't move, doesn't look at you, doesn't say anything.
Are we together?
By now, I would say Kenny, and if you guys are heading further towards the main part of the dock area, I would say you and Kenny would eventually walk up on them.
It's that stupid ghost. Where are you watching from? And I call out to the ghost. I think it's a ghost.
You're just calling out, or are you calling out to the guy in the armor?
Yeah, I call out to the dude in the armor and ask where he's watching from.
He doesn't seem to answer you when he says that.
I'm gonna do an unarmed strike to get him to move.
He's a ghost.
I'm not gonna use my fist. I'm gonna go ahead and whip my head around so I can hit him with the ring on the bottom of my braid.
Okay, roll that fucking attack. Let's do
Braid
this.
that bitch.
Oh, that's a nat 20.
Ooh.
Okay, not the best, but all right, we got 5 points of damage.
You flip your hair and you hear the cracking of ring that's on the end of it make with the armor as it makes a loud sound. You can even see the indent in the place where you had struck. As you do that, his head finally turns and meets your gaze. He's slightly shorter than you since you're 7 feet tall, but he is a very large individual.
I'm going to do that hour reaping again. I want to see if I can scare him to I want to see if I can scare him.
Okay, before you do that, since you did something, he's going to look at you, and as he looks at you, you see something glowing underneath his mask. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
19.
As you see like this glowing red light just coming out through his mask, you feel this wave of fear just kind of envelop you, and it kind of like you feel it kind of going down in between like your scales and into your like you have studied under the monastery and you know how to swallow your fear, as a lot of the practices that you preach has to deal with overcoming fear. And as that fear kind of pushes inside of you, you kind of steadfast kind of push that away, and you manage to scathe off this feeling of fear. But you can sense a very strong divine presence coming from this particular person. Everybody else who's standing there, are you guys attempting to do something?
I'm not doing anything yet, but my hand's kind of like twitching at my side a little bit.
I'm gonna look to the Goliath and go, you need to get the child to the boat at the farthest end of the dock. It's on the right with the red tapestry, the red mast. We'll stay here and deal with whatever this is. When we go, you go further. Go ahead.
I'm gonna run with the child for now.
Yeah, best be doubling the guard on the kid up.
When anything kicks off, I'm taking off.
Rad, is there anything you want to do while you're down there?
I turn around and I see this figure, and then I see my allies appear, and I'm like, dudes, over here! And I'm just signaling for them.
Before I go running off with Xauti, I'm gonna stay in the back of the pack just in case this ghost tries anything, and I can be the buffer zone between. But I am going to wave down Rad, and I'm going to point at the boat at the end with the red mask.
I'll just flip him some thumbs up.
I give him that really awkward shaka again, because I think that's like his greeting symbol.
Snuvall and Trig, are you doing anything?
I'm going to... I feel like I'm going to end up engaging this guy.
I'm gonna go with the kid. I'm gonna keep an eye on that. Help her keep an eye on that kid.
Yeah, essentially, if this guy tries anything, I think the Dragonborn, the cowboy, and Anchor are going to try and intercede while the others run away.
Yeah, I'll feel like...
Close your eyes, and soon we'll be on a boat. Just think about the boat.
You guys begin to proceed to just try to walk past this particular individual and just make a beeline straight to your...
Or just eyes are just staring at it as we just walk by.
We're doing like that Scooby-Doo thing where they're kind of like in a line creeping by.
Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
Feels right.
I got a 5.
I got an 8.
22.
I got an 18.
I got a 4.
As you guys progress forward, again, you feel this creeping sensation of fear wash all over you. Anchor and Trig, you guys have been through enough to kind of scathe off that fear and swallow it in the way that Snuvall did. But Kenny, Xauti, and Snuvall, that fear just kind of sinks in really fucking deep, and it stops you in your tracks as you stop moving. You feel the need to back away from this man instead of trying to cross past him, as you guys are stuck, full of fear. You're frightened currently of this particular entity.
I go ahead and activate my stillness of mind, which is it would take me out of an action, but it basically I would just have to stand still, but I can become unfrightened. Can I just go into a meditative pose for a second to gather myself? That's what I'm gonna have.
Rad, roll me a perception check since you haven't left your position on the beach, right?
No, yeah, I'm still watching. 15.
15. As you see the Goliath stop and Snuvall and Kenny all stop in their tracks and they're not moving towards the boat like where Anchor had pointed a direction, what you notice is behind them 2 other people have come out from the opposite end. One is a half-elf in leather armor, and the other one is what appears to be a woman. She's wearing very long robes. The thing you notice most is the mask that she's wearing over her face. It's a blank, whitish mask that's a little bit bigger than her face, but she's got crude, spirals that make up its eyes and this really large, smiling teeth. She's got, bush kind of hair that circles around it, and you can't tell if that's her actual hair or it's a part of the actual mask, but they're both now kind of approaching behind Kenny, Xauti, and Snuvall.
Well, any doubt that this dude isn't being totally aggro has now been dispelled.
Yeah.
Would you say that this man in the black armor and the two new individuals, are they within a 40-foot cube of each other within range? Or are they farther away from each other than that?
The two are far, just a little bit outside of that, but they are moving towards them. But they're still in the city line. They've come out through like alleys in the same way that you slowly saw your party approach.
I'm just going to raise one of my hands, and this energy sort of forms in one of the palms of my hands. I'm gonna blast off 2 eldritch blasts at the man in black armor.
Sure, at the man in black armor.
Yeah, the highest is a 14. And then I'll just spend the rest of my turn just moving 30 feet towards him.
Okay. Yeah, you pop off those 2 blasts and stuff like that, and it does make connections with its armor, but it doesn't seem to do anything as the energy kind of just scatters and fades. But that draws the attention of the 2 that are approaching. As you are running towards the rest of the group, the woman who's standing there just kind of blinks and disappears. And as she disappears, she eventually appears in front of you, Rad, as you're approaching up to her. As you're approaching her, you notice that like where her hands are, there's these long bladed claws that are resting on the tops of her hands that are the only thing that you can really see sticking out of her long sleeves. But she's got that mask on, and she's got her head kind of tilted to the side as you're kind of approaching her. Why don't we just roll for initiative?
Okay.
I have a 20.
6. 17.
15.
Get another nat 1. The initiative 4.
12.
The top of the round is the man in the armor, with some of the members of your party frightened and unable to continue on, as Trig and Anchor on the opposite sides on the back end of this evil guy. He draws his greatsword and he approaches you, Xauti, as he notices the little child in your arms. And and as he approaches you and he pulls his greatsword out, he says something to you. And he says, I received a letter and a note to help deliver precious cargo. And I have a feeling what you have in your hands is just the cargo I'm looking for. If you hand her over now, I won't burn this entire city to the ground. As he's stepping forward, it's making you take steps back as you're frightened.
I'm gonna switch her to my upstage hand so she's furthest away from him. And switch my sword hand and just kind of like shakily keep my sword out in front of us. Not a chance.
He's going to take a swing at you with his greatsword then. He takes it in both of his hands and he swings wildly, but you managed, since you're frightened of him, you take that awkward shuffle back, and it's just enough for you to scathe off, but you hear the weight of the whoosh across your face of his sword. Trig, you're up.
Okay. How far away am I from this guy?
You're about, now that he's taken a few steps forward, he's about 10 feet, 15 feet away from you.
Gotcha. Pop, pop. I'm gonna take 2 shots at him. I'll roll them both at the same time.
Sure.
So that is going to be a dirty 20 and a 16 to hit.
Dirty 20 and a 6. The dirty 20 will hit. The 16 will not.
Okay. On the dirty 20, I am going to try to do a trip attack, spending my final superiority die, so he will also have to make a strength saving throw against a 14, or he's going to get knocked prone.
Okay.
And I get to add an extra d8 to my damage roll.
I hit 18.
Takes 14 points of piercing damage. Bonus action, crossbow expert to whack him again.
Right.
Sharpshooter. 14 to hit.
You manage to fire off those 3 arrows, and one actually does manage to get underneath some of his armor and jut out from in between 2 of his plates. But he doesn't seem unfazed by it as he's continuing to focus on Xauti and the child. Anchor, it's your turn.
Alrighty, I'm gonna get in between Xauti and the black armored. And immediately in between them, I'm pulling out that big metal war club, and I'm gonna take 2 huge swipes at him.
Okay.
You know, trying to pummel him with it. I have 18 on the first one and a 25 on the second. 25 points of damage total from both hits. And then I'm just keeping myself within 5 feet of Xauti the whole time to make sure that they're protected.
Okay. Xauti, it's actually your turn.
I'm gonna cast Hold Person on this fucker. It's a wisdom save against 15.
He rolled a natural 15.
Son of a fucking bitch.
Roll a d20.
A 7.
Okay.
I want a bonus action disengage and use my movement to get as far away from him as I can.
Yeah, as you disengage and Anchor is wedged between you and this armored man, you attempt to try to flee back into the city. But as you turn around and use the full length of your movement, you do notice that there is somebody, a half-elf in leather armor, on the opposite side as you had not paid attention to him, and you're now running towards him.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
Rad, you're up. This woman has jumped up in front of you and is waiting with you as you're running towards her in her direction.
And she has like her blades out, like she's gonna attack.
She has her blades out. She's just standing there with her head kind of cocked, just kind of looking at you, seeing what you're gonna do.
Am I within 30 feet of Xauti? Or can I get within 30 feet of Xauti?
If you get closer to the woman, yeah, you'll be within range if you use your movement.
Yes, I will definitely get as close as I can to where I can see Xauti, because I know that she has the child. She has Baron. And I'm just going to yell out, "Be brave, Xauti!" And I'm going to cast Enlarge on Xauti. Okay. It's going to become 14 feet tall. I'm now concentrating on that, so I've dropped Control Water.
Okay. Because you've gotten close enough to this woman before you cast it, and you're within, I would say, about 5 feet of her, she does use her reaction to use both of her hands to strike at you with the claws, and you just hear the raking of steel against your shell, but you don't feel a damn thing.
That's what the shell's for, dude.
She kind of tilts her head. Her head was tilted to one side. She then just kind of tilts it to the other side. That smile just kind of like looming and staring at you.
You got really weird vibes, dude.
Oh, and it's her turn. She is going to... Yeah, she's close enough. She's gonna try to attack you. The first one is a 3. The second one is a 1. She just starts to just rapid fire, try to stab at you with her hands. You're just kind of loosey-goosey about it. You just kind of move to the side one way, move to the side the other way, and it just keeps raking against the...
That tickles!
You just hear the quickness of her hands, but you just don't... all you just are managing is just the blocking it with your shell and just keeping her off her toes, but that's about her turn. For her, Xauti, you are now have been enlarged to 14 feet, and you're still standing above this half elf who's still standing right in front of you as he's kind of tracing his steps all the way up, and you could hear the tiny cries of Baran in your hand is about enough size to hold her entirely as you just have her covered to it.
I'll just cup her against my collarbone and just...
He is going to first use his bonus action, and he's just going to create another copy of himself that kind of manifests into a fog, into an image of that looks identical to him, and he's gonna push it towards Anchor since he's within his range, and he is going to pull out his halberd, and he's going to just attempt to strike you, Xauti, at your ankle.
Ankle bite me, let's go.
He's gonna ankle bite you. Oh yeah, that'll hit. That's a 24.
Boy, does that hit.
You are going to take 5 points of slashing damage, and then he's going to roll a secondary attack, and that is also going to hit. That is a 22. As he's going to kind of take his halberd. He's going to first go with the pike end. He's going to strike you straight into the thing, and as he pulls it out, he's going to flip around and rotate around your large leg, and then strike you again in the opposite leg with the axe face side of his halberd. That'll be 8 points of damage on that one, as he's just striking that while his other form is approaching and walking towards Anchor.
You're a creepy little man who makes ghosts. Fuck off.
Snuvall, you're up.
Okay, is the guy in the dark armor right in front of me still?
You and Anchor are still within his sight, but you are no longer frightened of him.
Okay, so you're gonna go ahead, and I'm gonna do, so now that I'm in action, okay, I'm gonna do Hour of Reaping again.
And that is a, what saving throw? A wisdom?
Wisdom saving throw.
He has very high wisdom.
All right, well then I get impatient, because I can get my other action. I'm gonna go ahead and use my breath weapon, and you have to do a dex save of 12.
No, he doesn't get it.
Thank God for that. All right. So I'm gonna burn you with, hold on, 14 points of damage, and then I'm gonna go ahead and have my bonus action of Fury Blows. 15, does that hit?
Hit.
All right, got another one. Oh, nat 20, that one hits. 6 points of damage for that.
Yeah, you step up in front, like Anchor is taking a position of defense and stuff as Xauti's grown into this immense size, and using that opportunity of both of them stepping in, you just let loose a flame breath over this guy, and he's like to the point where you start to see like his own fucking armor just starting to kind of glow with this like gaze of that breath, and then you just follow it up with just a solid strike into it. He's pretty fucking hurt as he takes a few steps back away from you, Snuvall, and has turned his attention to you now.
So really quick, I'm going to cast heroism on myself and Xauti. You're immune to being frightened now, and you gain 3 temporary hit points. And that's my bonus action. And then I'm going to cast, what did I just say? I think Spiritual Weapon at 3rd level at the dude. That's going to be...
Which dude? The dude in the leather armor, or
the prime dude,
guy in the black armor? Okay.
That's going to be a 17 to hit.
17 hits.
So that's going to take... Is that at 3rd level? Okay. Oh, that's only going to be 4 points of damage, but that's okay.
What does your spiritual weapon look like?
It is a huge, golden sort of, oh wow. Yeah, it is a golden hand, not to get all smashed on everybody, but it's a giant golden hand.
Nice.
That you just slapped
that like
him
punches
down.
The dude.
Yeah, he just gets struck with divine energy.
The hand
golden hand
extremely well manicured.
It's a beautiful hand. It's about to hit the top of the round. Are you guys going to continue to fight these 4, or are you guys going to attempt to get to your ship and try to leave? As you guys are now not... Yeah, none of you guys are frightened, and you guys can attempt to make a run as these series of attacks have put this guy in the black armor teetering back, and there's a moment where you could try to make a break for it.
Let's go, boys and girls and people.
Make an athletics check.
I'll see them running, and I want to give chase, but I want to do something before I leave.
Can I wait to run until after Dark Armor takes his turn?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
That's a 10.
23. 10.
Ooh.
Oh.
Nat 20, kids.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I have a 25 on my athletics.
Okay. Those who were low, you're on the back end of the pack. As Xauti just, with one big, large foot, just stretches over past everybody and just puts, like, you can hear the crunching of, like, wood as they put their foot down onto the docks as the wood creaks against the weight of the sheer size, as in, like, just 2 easy steps just make it to the red-sailed canoe that's right there. But as you stand in front of it, you realize that you're 14 feet tall and this boat is just not gonna cut it for your size. The rest of you are slowly making your way around with Snuvall trailing the back of the pack. Rad, what did you want to do before I started initiative?
So I see Xauti making their way to the boat, and this whole time this person with the mask has been like striking my shell, and it's kind of shaking my stomach, and I ate a lot of black ink squid pies, so I just like involuntarily start feeling sick, and I'm going to turn around and just vomit all of this black ink squid pie onto her. But as it happens, it's kind of like in Shin Godzilla, where like first a bunch of like magma comes out, and then this like high-powered steam breath comes out, and they need to make a dex save.
What's the AC for that?
14. So they fail, I assume, by that reaction. Yeah. Okay, so they take 9 fire damage as I just blast them with this hot air, and then once I finish like in a belch, I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, and I just start running away. towards the go. And if I see Xauti like getting close to the boat, I'll just drop my enlarge.
Okay. Yeah, you just cover her in this steamy black, almost like tar, just from what's been sitting in your stomach, and it just covers her, and you can kind of just feel the burning, and she kind of like shrieks out as she's kind of trying to wipe all this nasty shit from her face. But that gives you enough time to just break it for the boat, and you see just Xauti's large frame just like standing in front of this ship as you cast out and brings them back down to their normal size. As Xauti, you're now able to jump onto the ship. The big guy is going to try to get himself together as he's going to now step forward. And Snuvall, since you are one of the last people in the group, he's going to try to make his way towards you, and he is going to cast.
So he moved away from me?
Yes. You can incur an opportunity attack as he's stepping towards you because he's more enthralled with Snuvall.
Okay. And is Snuvall within 5 feet of me? Is that how close we are?
Yeah, because she was like right next to you and stuff, and so she would cross past you as she's making her way towards the docks.
Okay, cool.
He's gonna cast Spiritual Weapon on him as well.
First, I hit him with my op attack. I have Sentinel, meaning that he can't move in his turn after I hit him on an op.
Nice.
So he's stuck where he was originally.
Okay.
He takes 12 points of damage.
Nice.
And that'll just be my reaction.
Yeah, you crack that warhammer into him, stopping him in his tracks. He's no longer able to move forward, and as you kind of look into his helmet, he's just looking back at you, and you can kind of see through that bit of that darkness to see that you can see like two human eyes, like two green eyes looking back at you.
If he's looking at me, I pull down the headscarf completely. I show him my full face.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay. They're both looking at each other. Both looking at you. He's gonna cast though Spiritual Weapon, which ironically enough he also has a hand.
Hey.
But it's a gauntlet like hand that's black and reddish and that, and he's still gonna try to attempt to strike you, Snuvall. That is a 17 to hit. The hand just comes straight down on top of you, and you take 4 points of damage as it just strikes down onto you. Trig, Anchor, Xauti, and Rad, I assume you guys are dashing and making your way to the ship. So within your turn, you managed to do that.
On my turn, can I also, as I'm stepping onto the boat, can I kick a hunting trap out at the entrance to the boat?
You wait for everybody to kind of went through as you just pull this hunting trap out, as you just set it right at the plank in which you can board onto the ship.
I hope Anchor doesn't step on it.
Does it take all of our movement and action to get there?
Yeah.
Can I?
You're already on the boat, so you can take an action from the ship if you want to.
Sorry, is it my turn?
Yeah, I'll allow you to do your turn. Everybody else is running to make it to the ship, but since you're already there, you can do something.
Okay, dope. Since I'm there, is anyone still in melee range?
I would say Snuvall. Snuvall.
Dude.
Snuvall would be Snuvall would be the closest, as she hasn't taken her turn yet to run.
Cool. I'm gonna use Firebolt on him, and hold on, I'll see if I hit first. Nope, that's a nat 1.
That's a nat 1. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing to hear.
No.
Roll me.
Yep.
Roll me a D100.
Yep.
Okay.
45.
As you cast Firebolt, it just fizzles and just bursts, just goes around everybody who's sitting on the ship. And as everybody feels this wave just pulse out of them, you all start to hiccup and uncontrollably just start to hiccup and hiccup and hiccup and hiccup.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Xauti, you feel like a searingness on that mark that's on your upper arm, as that feels like where it emanated from this energy. But everybody is just hiccuping. I
turn to Kenny. I need you to heal me immediately.
I'm sorry.
She turns to you holding her breath and still holds up the contract that no one has signed yet.
Ah, God damn it!
Snowball, as you're trying to make way to the ship, the half elf is racing towards you, trying to follow after you. His secondary form is also much closer to you, so he's right behind you. You're the last one on this to get on this boat.
Okay, well,
Well, hold on. I got my. I'm gonna dash, but I'm gonna use my bonus action first, which I can put like, what is it called? Step of wind to double my speed to haul ass. I'm gonna run and jump onto that boat. So, bye.
As like you hear the sounds of like a blade trying to swing at you as the halberd is racing through, but just at that minute you pick up the wind in your feet and you just fucking jump down the staircase, land on the ground, and you just fucking cartoon sprint straight for the boat as you jump onto it. All of you now are on the boat. What do you want to do as you now see the other members approaching and running after you guys?
First of all, does anyone step on the hunting trap?
Oh, hey Snuvall, roll me a quick deck save, because you're running so fast you're gonna miss that hunting trap sitting there.
Oh, 21.
Even in her speed, she sees the danger ahead of her, and she jumps over it and she lands in the boat and she kind of skids across the way.
Gonna do like that, like jump, twirl, and then kind of like on the boat baseball slide and on the deck.
Superhero landing.
Rad is just gonna find Anchor and say, I'm gonna put my hand on his shoulder and be like, dude, it's time to shoot the curl. Let's get the hell out of here.
Good, yes, shoot the curl. And he reaches into his side bag and he takes out the gust stone and he gives it over to Rad. Get that in the mast. We're going. And I go straight to the oar, trying to get it.
Rad, you grab the stone and you quickly, knowing what its purpose is, it goes and inserts it as the druidic ruins like illuminate on it, and the sail starts to pick wind up as you guys slowly start to push your way out of this harbor. Nah, that's not gonna miss. You see like two eldritch energy blasts just shoot across as you see the woman that Rad had puked all over, kind of still smoldering with this blackish tar stuff on it, but she's running feverishly after you guys down towards the dock area, hoping in an attempt, as well as the half-elf, in an attempt to try to get onto your ship. Rad, roll me a survival check.
Let's see. Oh, 12.
As Anchor is trying to steer you guys out, you know that the mast and tilting it in the right direction can also aid in steering it and moving it along. So you, while he's focused on pushing the oar, you go and grab the secondary pulley and you pull it tight as it shifts it sideways as you guys fully are able to turn around. As you do that, you hear a splash as the half-elf had attempted to try to jump onto the ship, and just at that right moment, the ship turned around far enough where he misses it completely and lands straight in the fucking water. As you see the woman standing just with that mask looking at you guys as you guys have pushed out. Even though you guys have left the harbor, the two ships, the one that Rad had been vortexing, had finally succumbed and sunk to the bottom of this bay. Those two ships are still out in the water, and they are still firing their cannons. As you can kind of see like flares and stuff like that popping off on the shoreline, as maybe drawing attention to those ships that something is afoot. Rad and Anchor, both roll me survival checks, as you guys are both helping each other navigate through this bay, as there's still a collection of ships. It seems that some of the boats have been, some of the other merchant ships and other boats that have been sitting in this harbor, some of them have been destroyed and are half sunken and scattered about this bay. What did you both roll? Dirty 20.
I rolled a dirty 20.
19.
Excellent. Easy enough. It seems like even both of you in tandem, both being sailors, know how to navigate and work this way through as you all pushing through broken debris and the fires that have been alighted amongst this water, just illuminating it in a glow. Okay. Anybody who's on the ship who's not navigating it, roll me perception checks.
11, 20.
21.
Dirty 21.
Okay. Rad and Anchor are skillfully navigating you through these ships, trying to be as discreet as possible and with as much speed as the gust stone will allow you. The rest of you are just kind of keeping an eye out for anything that seems to be afoot, any other additional danger. Xauti, you do notice that it seems that on the larger galleon ships that have been firing onto the ship have made that you see people flagging each other on the deck of the ship, as you see some people lining up along the edges and stuff like that as they've taken note of your boat. Anchor and Rad, roll me a quick athletics check.
Natural 20, So a 27.
19 for me,
19?
athletics.
You guys see couple bolts of fire just firing at you guys as members on the top of the ship are taking sight at you guys, but you guys both pull tight on your oars and stuff like that and are managing to kind of navigate. This boat is particularly fast, this wayfaring canoe, and able to kind of jut in between. One last athletics check as you guys are going to try to get between these two ships out to the back end and trying to get towards the narrow pass.
I rolled an 18.
18?
I have a 19.
19? Yep.
That was athletics, right?
Yes.
That was athletics, yes.
Yeah, 19.
You guys are pushing forward. You're seeing that the two ships are attempting to kind of barricade you guys together as they're pushing towards, because they're literally like kind of side by side to each other. But you watch the guststone and you're just waiting for the right moment where it seems to gonna like push an extra bout of like air as you guys tighten up the reins of the oar and the pulley, and you guys just barely hearing some scraping on the back end of your ship and against that oar a little bit that kind of off kilters you a little bit anchored, but you manage to get between these ships and you guys are on your way out of the narrow path and on the outside of this atoll. As you guys kind of look on, like all you can see is the large rims of the sides of the craggy mountain ring that makes up Tengu Atoll, and just the faint glow of fire. As you guys are continuing forward, like Baran is just still kind of sobbing, and she keeps saying something over and over and over again. Those who speak primordial, roll me an intelligence check to see if you understand what she's saying.
After making that like very narrow escape, I'm gonna just slap Anchor on the back and be like, "That's how you shoot the curl, dude."
Yes, it was very well shot. I'm proud of both of us. You're quite the
Your form's a little
sir.
sketchy, but I'm impressed.
I'm sorry, is the curl some kind of substance that we should know about?
It's what we just shot. Weren't you listening?
Never mind.
I rolled a 16 on that intelligence check for the primordial.
Okay. Anybody else speak primordial, or is it just Anchor? Who's Anchor? Okay.
I'm probably like trying to comfort her, and like never having actually hung out with children, Shodi's really awkward and like just like petting the back of her head really awkwardly with her huge funky hand.
You're doing that bouncing thing too.
And, like,
Please.
You're gyrating her just a little too hard just because you're full.
Yeah, like a little bit too hard.
But she keeps
keeps
muttering this word in between her sobs. Anchor, you kind of pick up on it, knowing a little bit of primordial, and she's saying the word Teddy over and over again as she doesn't have her bear with her as you guys continue off into the darkness of the night. And that's where we'll end today's session.
Oh.